Ready?
Yes.
Okay, at 6 o'clock on April 21st, 2026, I will call the monthly meeting of the Village Board of Trustees of Sister Bay to order. Roll call.
Idler.
Housen here.
White here.
Bell here. Kelly here. Patrice.
Here.
Like she's not here, Nate. Okay.
Got it. Give her a nickname.
Unless she's invisible.
Okay. Okay. Motion to approve the agenda. Would be in order.
So moved.
Motion by White,
Second.
second by Heidler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, approval of the minutes.
So this one, unique situation here. So we had Julie who was working on a lot of elections this past month, and there was just somewhat of an oversight on staff part for finishing up the meeting minutes, but they'll be included on next month's meeting.
Okay. All right, then comments, correspondence, concerns from the public. So we have one letter that's in here. There was another letter that came in late today, I believe.
I believe it came in.
Yep, it came in yesterday and it was sent out to the village board today.
Okay. So there's that. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak? Yes.
Denise Bardo, 2285 Maple Drive, Sister Bay. What I would like to address the board tonight about is the future land use and zoning map that you'll be discussing later in the packet. Specifically pertaining to 2629 and 2649 South Bay Shore Drive. If you look at our current zoning map that is dated October 15th, 2025. Both of these parcels are zoned B1 general business. The reason I'm coming here tonight is because I was unable to attend the last commission meeting where this was addressed. I believe those two parcels are being proposed to be R1 and R3. And that is spot zoning, and there's no other residential in that area. After watching the video of that meeting, the discussion was based around both properties being zoned countryside, which as I stated, they are not, they are B1. And the discussion also talked about that based on their size, they don't meet the criteria to be countryside. So it was recommended that they be changed to R1 and R3. Now that becomes spot zoning because we do not zone according to how a property is currently being used. And that there's no other residential near those parcels. So if you rezone them to R1 and R3, it will open up the door for abutting properties to ask to be rezoned any R1, 2, 3, or 4. And I think it's very important that we protect our commercial corridor. And in most cases, not all, spot zoning is illegal. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Is there anyone online, sir? Okay. On to 5, presentations. The broadband update for our county, Jessica Hatch.
Do you want me to stand up front or is there?
Whatever you're most comfortable with.
Okay. So hello, I'm Jessica Hatch. I'm the broadband coordinator for York County. Nice to meet you all. There's a couple of you I've never met. We have some new board members here. I just came in to give you an update on my county committee, a transition that we are moving into, and then answer any questions that you have with what you have going on in Sister Bay, whether it be frontier construction going on that I've been keeping Nate and Ben updated on. So currently with the village, Verizon and Frontier are doing Verizon Frontier was Frontier Verizon as of January 1st, I believe, of this year. So they're kind of going as both. Currently, so sorry if I switch between the two, but they are doing fiber work through the village of Sister Bay. But really from Jackson Fort and about the top north third of Egg Harbor North. And we'll be continuing to do work probably for the next 4 to 5 years throughout the county for fiber services. So I would recommend, reaching out to them if you haven't already talked to them. Yes.
So when you say 4 to 5 years, what have they said about what's happening inside the village?
They haven't specifically answered about the village in particular, other than what I see for permitting that's coming through. They have to update services in the village to keep things moving in Liberty Grove.
I guess the informal conversations I've had, this led me to believe this is gonna be, they're largely gonna be done in the village in like
Yeah.
1 or 2 years. I think that the Liberty Grove part is like
Is
where
going
the,
to be the extended, yeah, in other areas throughout Door County that may take a little bit longer, and the areas that could potentially take a little longer are sometimes because of make-ready joint use with WPS. So sometimes there are kind of speed bumps that pop up in areas with different make-ready and joint use with WPS for them to go aerial, and then maybe they have to make a decision to bury or.
when you say make ready, what are you talking about?
So there is a process that all of the ISPs have to go through when they want to string and attach two poles under WPS that is called make ready or joint use. So what they have to do is send in applications to WPS and fill out some pretty extensive paperwork that usually there are people that are trained to do that here, to attach, and then they have to wait for WPS to go through review on that and look at what is currently on those poles. Can they hold any more? Will they allow them to attach to them? Do they need to replace the pole with a larger pole and then raise the utilities so that they can allow broadband to attach on them? So it's a pretty extensive process if they don't bury the services sometimes. And you are a little more unique in the village where you have your downtown corridor buried through the village, so they will have to go through conduit on the highway areas. And you don't have probably a lot of farm field areas within the village. That's kind of where some tricky business, kind of like right here, maybe on Woodcrest, possibly. Sometimes that's what is a little bit of a hiccup because the lines have to be taller for farm equipment to get under and through in the fields in certain areas. So sometimes there's a few things that slow things down. So thank you, Nick. And like that, you're keeping me on my toes tonight. So they have to go through that process because they have to get permission to attach to those poles, even though they already have infrastructure on those poles. It's old infrastructure, and a lot of the times they're not necessarily taking it off or removing it. They're kind of doing what's referred to as overlashing and attaching to what's already there and using the facilities that are there to stabilize the fiber. Sometimes they'll come through and remove the old copper facilities, but not always. And we don't really have a choice on that. That kind of is part of the conversation that they have for make ready and joint use with WPS if they want any of those facilities removed because of icing, wind load. If the poles are old and they need to replace them and they can't carry down weight, things like that. But I would definitely recommend, if you can have a conversation with them, to invite them in to sit down and talk to the village, get an update from them on construction, what's happening, what their plan is, timelines, maybe ask for a phase map for construction so that they will provide you a general idea of like where they're focusing on and timelines for that. And also just trying to confirm, is the plan to serve every location in the village? You've had new construction. Everyone's had new construction, and usually the more open the conversation is with them, the more they get from you. It makes things a little bit easier for them to get out and deploy those facilities. So currently, I think when I sent this in, you had 7 Wisconsin DOT permit extensions for fiber work on the highway. I think you're at 8 now, so I think I just sent Ben one the other day. So what that means is they have applied to do all this work through Wisconsin DOT on the highway areas, and they know they have limitations on that work because Burke County has a lot of limitations once we hit May through September on highway work, especially in the busy season. So they're gonna be trying to get as much done as possible, and then that work has been extended, most of it into the fall and some of it through the end of the year. Because they're not gonna be able to obviously stop traffic in July and Sister Bay between work, through that. There is a contact, that works for Frontier that is now still with Frontier and Verizon, Todd Cruz. And they have, under Verizon, they have a lot of, community programs that they, once they have fiber in, or they're getting close to done, that they would come in and do programming for residents and businesses. So he has, it's called their Small Business and Job Upskilling Tech Tools for Individuals, which is really great that they have that as a company. And that's kind of the transition for my committee at the county level. We focused on access for 4 years, and now our committee has transitioned over to talking about broadband adoption and digital skill building for our residents throughout the county. So that as fiber services are coming online, people are comfortable adopting them, subscribing to them, and learning how to use them. You're a little bit different. You've had charter services here, you know, in the village for quite some time, and your community is considered a served community and has had internet access. So the gap areas for you are usually gonna be residents that maybe it's an affordability issue for them, that they didn't have service because they couldn't afford it. Or maybe in some cases, there were locations that just weren't served. Like a handful of locations that weren't served. And your committee that used to discuss, the Parks Committee used to handle and discuss, I don't know if they still do, broadband access and discussions. So the recommendation from us at the county level is to keep the committee in place, or someone having those discussions locally. One, so that you know what's going on during your construction. And you have an open conversation with the internet service provider, but also so that you could talk locally about if there's anything that you want to do, or if you have volunteers here in the village that would want to help people learn digital skilling and upskilling and get comfortable with adopting like broadband services. Any questions on that at all? No?
So I know the answer to this, but I'm asking for everybody else's benefit.
Okay,
There's billions of dollars that were given up by the federal government.
correct.
Can the village go get that money?
No, they cannot. That
Okay.
money is already designated to the internet service providers that applied for it, but because the village already had Charter Spectrum here and was considered a served municipality, they did not qualify for that funding. So that funding was very specific for unserved locations and underserved locations. Unserved is either having nothing available to you at all whatsoever, or speeds that are below 25/3. And underserved would be speeds that are below 100/20. So locations across the nation that were designated as that were the locations that qualified for that funding.
So Liberty Grove has got a lot of it.
Liberty Grove has a lot of those locations. Yeah, absolutely. I think it was about half of their fire numbers. About 1,400 and something that qualified for that, 1,500 that qualified for that. So about half of their locations, and then the other half, they have a public-private partnership in place with Frontier and a contract to serve every single location in Liberty Grove to ensure that the locations that didn't qualify for that funding will still get built out to, which they did under a tax levy. Yeah.
The 8 DOT permit extensions that we've gotten, that's all along the highway, not on village streets.
For DOT ones, those are gonna be specific to the highway, and then there are extensions that I send also that are from the county highway department, county roads, but you really don't have much in the village for county road.
No.
very low
Yeah,
on that, so you really wouldn't.
so
have-
nothing in that, they've not gotten into village streets yet.
Not yet, and if they did, Ben, have you
I
got?
believe there was,
There was stuff that
one.
was,
there was one, but it was a previously approved permit within 2025, I believe, and
Okay.
they were seeking a renewal as part of that.
an
Okay,
extension. It
Yeah.
was a rough winter, for all of the internet service providers that are building in Door County, which
Yeah.
AT&T is building also.
Yep.
Virtual Communications is doing work, so a lot of those companies had a really rough winter and they all have extensions in place for them. Wisconsin DOT will only give one extension for 6 months. And then if that expires and they're not done yet, they have to reapply for a brand new permit, but they'll give them one extension. So they're on their one
so
extension.
that'll take more time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they can ask for, I think it's, 6 months is the full amount that they'll give them on that extension, from what I've seen from them. I'm sorry, I think I've left you off on some of the permit extensions.
Oh, that's okay, yeah, you can
Okay.
include, yeah,
So I
because
can
I think
just-
Parks will continue to discuss it, and then, shoot, there's one other question I wondered about, and that was something I just forgot. I'll think of it in a minute. Because, oh, who's doing work for them? Are they doing their own work?
Holger Brothers have been doing a lot of work for them in the area, so, there are trucks that are marked, but I have also seen unmarked
Unmarked.
trucks.
There's
Okay.
also Dennis. which
Yes,
is-
there's also, I don't know his last name.
Yeah, but he's got like 5 or 6.
So we wouldn't necessarily know, I mean, okay, I just.
You could end up
Just doing
seeing
work.
trucks kind of like all
All over the
over
place.
that are
Mhm.
unmarked, just because there's crews from Green Bay, Holger Brothers is in Green Bay.
Okay,
But I think they're even subcontracting out, because I did talk to some
Mhm.
people in the Walmart parking lot that were in a Holker Brothers, because I stopped and talked to fiber people and trucks all over the county, so, they were from Missouri, I think,
yeah,
but they were in a marked truck.
yeah,
So, they're like subcontracting out like
Okay.
with a lot of people to get as many crews in the area. That's a very big fight to take to go from Jacksonport to Gilsborough.
north, yeah.
That's a lot, but the funding that Liberty Grove is under has a 4-year performance period. And everything that Frontier is doing outside of Jacksonport and outside of Liberty Grove is on their own. Under, well, Verizon's footprint now, so they're investing that of their own, matching funds in essence, they're funding themselves to do it, because of the Liberty Grove project, so they've chosen to kind of just upgrade everything north under their footprint.
Okay, and the funding that Liberty Grove's getting, is there a sunset to it, or it'll,
4 years.
like, is there, so they, okay.
So they have
Hopefully
till
that's not-
2030. Yeah, they should have it finished by 2030. And I talked to someone from Gibraltar this morning, and they just had their annual meeting, and there was like 5 Frontier people that showed up and attended.
Mhm.
And went over a lot of detail with them, so I think that, if you were to reach out,
Yeah, we will,
they'd
okay.
be happy to.
Mhm.
And if they're doing, like, if they're coming down the street and they're doing the aerial lashing, there's not gonna be a permit. So you may not, might not be aware of all the work they're doing, because they don't need a permit to overlash, do they?
They do. I mean, the DOT, the permits that they're using for overlashing, they have permitting for.
But on the village roads.
Oh, that's up to you.
Yeah, so they would be
Yeah.
submitting, they would reach out as part of it, and then they'd reach out and fill out a permit as
Okay.
part of it.
Yeah,
So-
you shouldn't, I mean, it's,
And there was only the one permit that was extended from 2025 that has come forward at this time. But
Okay.
otherwise, they would come forward and they would fill out the permit
How big is that footprint?
What
of
footprint?
the
The overlash that they're doing?
The work.
The permit.
The work, okay. Yeah, it's, let me see, I apologize for not knowing the park, but the intersection of 57 and 42.
Okay.
Oh, it's a little schoolhouse.
The little schoolhouse area, they're going right between that area.
So it's
Within
Gateway
the right of way,
from
yes, the
57 to
gateway
42?
as part of it, so
That
that
might
was,
include Birchwood or something. Okay.
yes. That's the work that they're doing, so I'd have to pull a permit to see how many feet that they were doing.
that's the only one for the building.
Well, as for our specific roadways,
We own Gateway, not 57 and 42, but maybe
Right.
they did it because the county, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe there's a, I don't know.
They've been doing overlash work since November.
There's a Frontier right down 42, because we have it now.
But I'm
but
talking
I think
about,
it
who live
was-
on 42, they're not in village streets yet,
Yeah, they're,
No.
they are?
yeah, they're done Scandia.
Oh,
Oh, you might be right.
okay,
I can go look at it, I can point out the lines on the grounds.
but they didn't get a permit, so.
They, we'll have to follow up on that.
Yeah.
It's fiber, this is just help educate me, fiber optic is preferred way underground, but are they doing the overlashing just because of expediency? Or,
Yeah, I'm gonna let Jessica answer that one because she's heard this both ways from a lot of different providers.
So some of the areas where, like, obviously your utilities are buried underground through the downtown corridor, so they're gonna have to follow that. Usually what they do is they follow their historic footprint that they already have in place because, there's usually not as much of a cost or a pushback if they just follow their old plant with it. But depending on situations like I was talking about, like where WPS comes back and says, no, we want you to replace 30 poles and raise them up and do this and this and that, they have to then do the math on, is it better to just bury this or is it better to hang it aerially? Now, there's industry arguments that people will get into nonstop on what's better, aerial or buried. Buried is great because it's a little more protected and you don't have the weather issues that we come up against, but we also have a lack of topsoil in this area. We have a lot of rock in this area. So the providers, each provider is gonna look at this really differently and look at their return on investment and then kind of make decisions based on that. And then sometimes their hand is forced because like an example that I was using, like that is happening in Jackson, Florida, at Jordan's Road, where there is the utilities come through a farm field and some poles are too far apart, so they want them to meet the span and put another pole in place, but that means they have to replace, you can't just add a new pole in, you have to replace all the poles. And then and raise it because it's a farm field where there's gonna be tractors going through and large machinery, so that they've been trying to work through actually for quite some time. So sometimes in situations like that, their hand is forced and then can they bury it? They can't bury it through a farm field, it's gonna get tilled up. So their hand is forced and then they pay rent to attach to those poles. So sometimes they're doing that math on the return on investment, deciding like, well, is it more affordable just to be buried, be done? Instead of paying all the make ready, replacing each pole, which is at this point, 8 to 16 to $18,000 per pole. And then all the costs to put it in, raise all the utilities, and then attach, and then they have to pay rent per pole. So they're gonna look at that a lot of different ways.
okay, and I was asking the question because it seems like south of here, there's an awful lot of burying going on,
There is, but so
at least along that.
there, along the highway, it is better to get that buried if they can. Depending on how much they wanna pay in rent again, but I know Frontier has buried south of here, Bertram has buried south of here. I don't think there's any AT&T, maybe.
that would be in Egg Harbor.
I think
In
it's
Egg
the
Harbor,
last
but
pool they
yeah.
did.
Yeah, but not
But
this
in
far
Old
north.
County, I thought Bailey's, there was a lot of burying going on.
Yes, I live in Bailey's Harbor. That
Yeah.
is because of a grant and a partnership with a different provider. So each municipality, we had a couple of municipalities that broke off when broadband discussion started and started this work ahead of everyone. So this ended up being a very federated approach instead of a countywide approach and trying to negotiate with maybe one or two providers, where each municipality went through an entire discussion, issued a RFP, reviewed all of that and chose a provider to partner with, and then had those discussions. So some of the decisions were made by some of the municipalities to work with a provider that buried everything, and some of them chose to work with ISPs where the cost was more significantly lower because they were gonna do a mixed deployment. Because Frontier really does do a mixed deployment, AT&T does a mixed deployment, they have things that are buried where they can. And then they're gonna go aerial if they can't bury. Yeah. That help?
Yep, thanks.
Okay. So, with the broadband adoption and digital skill building, what we're trying to do is really put the pieces of the puzzle together here for everyone to understand that the digital divide does have both deployment and non-deployment components. And the non-deployment components are broadband adoption and digital skill building, which is why my committee has transitioned over into those discussions. Because when we have the discussions, even nationwide, we talk about access, affordability, and adoption. And a lot of the municipalities have funding that they have invested in this. So they obviously want to see a good return on investment. They want to see a good take rate. They want to see this utility benefiting their residents and their businesses here. So really, people talk about the last mile as being the actual infrastructure and the service getting to the right of way or to your house. But the last mile is really these things right here and the devices that we sit and look at every day. Because something can sit there. It doesn't mean that people are going to adopt to it or subscribe to it. If they're nervous about it, they're worried about cybersecurity issues, safety online, things like that. And we do have an aging community here, so we have these discussions very largely because 50% of Door County is over 65. So we try to tackle discussions where we know that even over 65, more people maybe in their 80s, and so are not as comfortable or don't use it as much. And we want to kind of help foster those discussions and that comfort level with everyone, because telehealth and telemedicine is a huge benefit to us here being in a rural community. And the hospital, hopefully now with the Epic switchover, and once they work out kind of the wiggles on that and get through it a little bit more, we'll be able to offer telehealth and telemedicine visits a little more often for us. Because I mean, when you think about people on Washington Island, Gillis Rock, I mean, even Sister Bay is a far distance to drive to go in. You have the clinic here, but if you have to go to the hospital for something, and I mean, can you even imagine in the storms that we've had this winter? I don't want to drive to Sturgeon Bay during a winter storm just for a doctor's visit. If it's a follow-up for a sleep study that I can have on a phone call or a telehealth visit, would be a lot easier. So we have these discussions to focus on safe and informed use, privacy, security, avoiding scams, evaluating information, so broadband and devices become tools for opportunity rather than sources of risk for our citizens here. I always like to pull a little history into everything. So the rule, I'd like to talk about the comparison between the Rural Electrification Act and broadband adoption right now, because the REA transformed rural America by extending electricity to communities that private utilities had deemed unprofitable. When I did a deep dive on this, I had found that there were homes here in Door County that didn't even have an electricity to them till the 70s. So that was kind of an interesting little fact. And adoption was not automatic even with electricity. Federal investment in infrastructure was paired with people that were referred to as electrification specialists, which would be the equality of a digital navigator for us now. And they educated farmers on practical applications like electric pumps, refrigeration, electricity, all kinds of things that were not available on the farm until we had electricity into the rural areas. And the combination of access and education drove rapid adoption, improved productivity, and elevated rural living standards. So broadband is really no different. It can do the same for us as electric did for everyone else. I have a whole page, key benefits of adoption, that I'm assuming is in your packet. I hate just reading to people nonstop, but I mean, some of the big things here, obviously enhanced communication, and it's a better way to do people to people stuff better. We all like to do a fast Zoom meeting instead of a very long meeting in person if we possibly can avoid it. Improved education outcomes for students, healthcare that I brought up, and the farming in the area are just some of the huge benefits here. But a stronger local economy, business growth, entrepreneurship, and job creation. Door County, actually, DCEDC is one of my partners, and Door County has some of the highest percentages of small businesses of any county in the entire state. We have more small business owners than almost any county in Wisconsin. So allowing, people to have fiber services for an affordable rate, is going to probably increase that. And I mean, so I have Frontier service now up to my house that I was able to get connected in September. Their smallest plan is 300 by 300 megs. And with my auto pay discount, I pay $29.99 a month for that service. So there's a huge savings for residents here in Sister Bay from what they're paying for Charter Spectrum services, and especially a bundled package. 200 plus a month is what we had gotten in survey results when we did those surveys back in 22 and 23, that the village. Louise, I don't think you were on the committee yet, but maybe you were that their survey. So we partnered with the Wisconsin Broadband Office for the Wiser survey, and
Oh, no, I wasn't then. Mm-mm.
yeah, and there was a really great response, but some of those questions are like what people are paying, and is this challenging for you to afford this, and what are the speeds like, how is it performing, all of those things
Mhm.
that we have survey results back
Mhm.
from 22 and 23 on. If you want, I can send them to you. And then last but not least, so one of my partners is the United Way of Door County. They were awarded a grant, a federal grant that went through the state to issue laptops to residents throughout the community. They still have that going on. I think there's over 300 still that need to be issued to residents throughout the community. And I have just a little picture of the flyer in here, but I take the eligibility, I go through that with them, which takes about 10 or 15 minutes in a phone discussion. And then we've been doing small issuing, and we're looking at doing some larger events this summer to try to get all those devices out. But we are looking through for volunteers to help with any of that, and then to work with people that have a device that are not really digitally skilled yet, that still need to learn on that. So if you have questions on that, please let me know. And
Should
that
I
is
ask a
it.
question now or wait?
Yeah, you can, absolutely.
So a couple of questions. First of all, so United Way has the laptops. I didn't know they did, but how are they letting people know that they have them?
There's some flyers that we have out kind of everywhere that I have some in my car, so when I'm out,
Okay.
I put them out on bulletin boards.
Yep.
Through some partnerships, outreach with other not-for-profits. So we've kind of pushed things out to like Help of Door County, the ADRC.
Yeah, okay.
Stuff like that.
Okay,
And then flyers, and then I think with this summer, if we're able to do some large events, we're gonna focus on Northern Door.
I was gonna say anything in Northern Door.
We've been issuing right now a lot in the Sturgeon Bay area.
Uh-huh.
And then I have issued some to people that live in Northern Door, that I
Uh-huh.
just meet with them one-on-one and go to the library and issue them that device. But we would like to do some larger events where we can get it out, and we were discussing NWTC as a
Yeah,
site.
that was my other question, was using NWTC because the classroom is there.
Yes, we
And-
have some conversations with them going.
Okay, and also Serenity Springs, and there's a large population of, older people there. I'm wondering if you might want to think about partnering with them and to see if
Well, it's not a bad idea.
from a class idea. I mean, some of them might be unable to go, but if they were to go anywhere, it'd be very easy to go to NWTC to that and learn in that classroom, and they might need laptops, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and
But-
so we don't have classes yet because we don't have someone trained to be a digital navigator, which is why we are having the discussions about the volunteer committees. So the
Okay.
same way we had the local technology or broadband
Okay.
committees. We have a lot of very skilled retirees in the area that
Sure,
are
yeah.
very community minded and do a lot of volunteer work.
Because they would be in person, because they don't know how to use a laptop, you can't
Mhm.
really have it be,
The-
you can't have it be like
Sadly,
a
there was
remote learning session.
There was some funding that was tied. to-
Yeah.
There was some
Thinking about
funding that was tied to the access funding that was awarded in Liberty Grove. That was nationwide, that was specific for this, for
Mhm.
digital skilling,
Uh-huh.
and it was canceled as part of that.
Oh.
It's currently in the courts to determine whether that was legal to cancel it because it was tied to the same legislation.
Okay.
So if that's possible, the plan that we had discussed with United Way was to apply to have a full-time person throughout the county that would be a full-time digital navigator that could travel You know, like I'm in Southern Door these days, in Central these days, I'm in Northern Door.
Mhm,
That could be here and do a lot of additional skilling with people.
mhm. And I think libraries, at least in Northern Door, would be great, because a lot of people go to the
Mhm.
library to use their computer.
Yes.
And have somebody at the library explain to them how to get on the computer. So that's just a.
We try
a
not to
learning
overburden,
thing.
so one of my committee members is the library director, and we try not to overburden the librarians, with. They're there, they will.
No, I mean
help
just to
with
give the
visual-
information, to
Yes.
leave. a
Oh,
rack
I have
card.
flyers up in the
Okay,
library.
so I didn't
Yeah,
notice that
sorry.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would, I mean, to me, that could be good. The other one that would be good is to get into the weekly, newsletters at churches. Those are very well read, and that could be a cohort that would be like, well, I might be interested in that.
yes,
And I think there's one secretary maybe that there used to be, I don't know if there still is, that could connect you to a lot of the churches.
I have a list that I have been going through on
Okay.
all of the faith-based.
Because I mean, it's the same
throughout the
blurb
county.
that goes in, same thing you put into all of it.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what you got, all their bulletins, anyway, okay.
That would probably, get a lot of feedback.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so, and, maybe it's possible that you probably also find volunteers that way, but.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good idea too.
Yeah.
And then the last part is just that, fibernetdoorcounty.org is a website that we've had in place the past 4 years at the county level for this ongoing project. There, it is kind of a repository for materials, reference materials, all kinds of things. And I have source materials on there for all kinds of, resources for digital skilling also that are things that are online. And different, entities to reach out to for assistance and things like that. Just like there are not a lot yet of affordability programs left. But I know Frontier does have like a low income plan that they offer residents, I think. And there is a federal subsidy called Lifeline that you can qualify for to get like $9.95 a month off on either your phone or your internet bill. If your provider is registered under Lifeline. So that's the tricky part, as long as they are. And then that's it, really. I'm here obviously for questions as a resource. Anything that anyone may want to have a conversation about, and residents who have questions on what's going on with internet services, obviously. That's it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jeff.
I want to point out that Jessica has helped the village out tremendously, particularly parks. And has done a lot of background support for
Yeah,
us,
he's
so,
enormous help for parks and
Yeah.
trying to help us navigate, the broadband decision we made. Yeah,
Not a problem at all.
thank you so much for.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. On to 6A, amending the village, Mr. Bay future land use map.
All right, so last month, the plan commission held a public hearing to review the future land use map. What was proposed was the map that was or the draft of March 5th, 2026. As part of it, there was two different things that were intended to be changed. One was just showing some modifications to the right of way area. And then the other one was for changing some different parcels and identification to change to multifamily along the Highway 57 corridor. So those changes were incorporated by Bay Lakes Regional Planning, and then it's included as the proposed version that is the draft for April 13th, 2026. And is there any questions at all about what the future land use map is or what it is used for? I can go into that as well. So what is being asked of the village board here is to review the future land use map and to consider adopting the ordinance for amending the future land use map through adopting the ordinance 2026-001.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What is just for my clarification, what is the difference between the future land use map and the zoning map?
Yeah,
What's the biggest
So the zoning map is actually what is binding, so that is what we utilize for the zoning code for doing any enforcement or compliance, or just generally what is used as what is there today.
Mhm.
And then the future land use map is essentially a planning tool of what is intended for the future. So when making decisions or taking any changes to any parcels, it would be ideal to use this as a reference point of whether or not future development should occur there in that category.
Okay,
So it's what is not there, but what is intended over the next 20-year period.
and we kind of do this to fit in with the Door County future land use map, so that they kind of match it.
So this is actually for our own comprehensive.
Okay,
That's a state requirement that we have to do every so many years.
20 years or
Some
something.
years, yeah.
So that it's every 10 years for the comprehensive plan, that it should be revisited essentially.
so for the future land use map. I wrote down Denise's comments, but I'm not actually sure which map
That
it
was zoning,
applies
she
to.
was coming on zoning,
Yeah.
not land use.
Okay. And then
We're looking at land use like right now.
Yeah,
okay, and for land use, for our proposed future land use.
Yep.
There's. If you like look down at the bottom right, it's now all residential, it's all yellow. How long has it been like that?
We made
I thought
those
that was all
changes-
farmland or like Heartland 5 for the longest time.
We made those changes last year. And we talked about that for a long, and Ben wasn't here, I'm jumping in, but we talked about it at length because there was. I didn't bring my notes with me and I should have, but there was,
For change over?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like.
and yeah, that was
Okay.
before then, and so there were a lot of open lands. Or woodlands, more
Mhm.
open lands. That changed to residential. And some changed to commercial.
So how
It
come
was
there's the,
significant.
Conjunction with developing this comprehensive plan,
Uh-huh.
is that what?
Yeah, and it was significant. There was a lot.
okay, so there's this
And-
like big yellow. that's
Yeah. Yeah.
Residential in there, and
And
then
a lot of it was
there's
green.
the one partial 40 of agriculture. How come that one?
The
Stayed
40 of
ag.
ag, which is right here, you mean?
No,
No, it's, right.
Oh, down here?
yeah,
There.
why would you have something in the center be agriculture, but all of the agricultural plots around it?
Well, that part of it's
residential.
woodlands, and then the other part is natural areas. Show me where you're looking.
Starting on Highway
About the
57.
brown,
Yeah.
down to the right.
Right here.
Oh, agriculture there. Yeah.
This is ag, and this is all residential around it.
That, am I wrong? Is that is that an orchard? I don't
that
know.
is an active farm, or it's a farm of sorts.
Okay.
So it's
It's one
just,
that's right behind the patio.
Okay.
Oh.
so it's, I can't speak on behalf of what the thoughts
What
were,
happened
but if
before.
I had to interpret, it's that was a parcel that was likely not to change what its use would be in the future.
Okay,
But if, the trend is generally that if there are less farms or less agricultural or open lands, that ultimately if that was having any utility extensions, that there would be more residential development that would occur in the new outskirt areas, but.
and going back to other discussion, sorry, I jumped right in front of you. Is there larger lot restriction sizes on the residential land that are on these
Depends
40
how they're
acre
zoned.
parcels?
Depends how they're zoned.
Okay, so that's the zoning.
Yeah, you got,
Yeah.
Zoning,
you have to
we
pay
have
it
large lot zoning. but
You have to
that
pay
would be what it
attention.
is.
between the zoning and the future land use, because in future land use, some uses are combined. Whereas the zoning gets much more specific.
Okay.
And by the way, not in stone,
Mm-hmm.
so. I'll let you go ahead and then I have a comment to make about the letter that you received.
Just to jump.
Yeah.
So you said we're looking at the March 5th one, but I also have an April one in here.
Right,
So April is what is being proposed right now as
Okay.
part of it. But I just put in the notes to show what the changes were from the plan
Gotcha.
commission meeting.
Okay,
so they're the same map.
Except for
Well,
the
there's a
two
little bit
little
of a difference.
changes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
there
was-
two minor
Those
changes
are
Yeah.
changes that happened at the
at the
March
at the
plan.
plan commission meeting. correct?
And I don't know where you want me to address this, but in the draft that we have on page 13. Does not match with what the conversations were coming out of plan commission. Specifically on those two subdivided areas, you have, on page 13, you have a note there, change to multifamily.
It's not.
If you go back to the minutes of the meeting, there was no mention of multifamily, it's residential.
Those, and
Because that's.
We
what
could make
contig-
that change as part
That's
of it.
what's contiguous to it. I didn't know if this
that's
was,
reflected in the zoning.
I didn't know if this was what Bay Lake did by accident or.
That's the one out by the patio, right? The
No.
Farmland.
It-
The farmland's by the patio, but this is over.
This is the one off of 42 near Open Hearth.
So, no, right now, what we're talking about are on page 13, and there's
Yeah.
a note,
Yeah, there's
to the
no,
bottom right.
oh, this one. Oh, yeah, it is,
Oh,
yeah, it is the
okay, yeah,
farm.
okay,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
It is the farm.
You're-
157, yeah, that is not multifamily.
So if that is the intention, it just would be making it with modifications to those to be residential.
Yeah, so it was the back half of those.
The back half, because it is residential contiguous to it.
Nate,
Yes,
Nate?
Patricia.
hi, could you help me out here and explain to me where the spot zoning is?
So we're gonna actually address that in the next item, because right now we're just
Okay.
talking about use.
Okay.
We'll absolutely get to that, but that's why we
Okay.
haven't. So, very good, fair question.
So in response, I'm sorry, anybody?
Sure.
In response to Barbara and, Bill Meyer's note, and I will say they are my neighbors. And they wrote a note about, if you look at page, this on 13 and 14. So if you look at it, if you're familiar at all with the old, Bay Ridge Golf Course, their note indicated that at one time, that parcel was all, I'm just gonna say it's light green. Light green is open lands. And so at the meeting that we were just talking about, which was about a year ago, I think, Nate. I came to the meeting, I was not on plan commission, but I came as, it was a public meeting. The public meeting about this map. And I asked that the plan commission, because the plan commission had wanted to make that residential. And I asked that they please keep it open land. And they kept they kept part of it open land. So what Barb and Bill are talking about is, so it's currently open land, the light green that you see. But the corridor, this is the part that faces Highway 42. That is also is on the corner of Highway 42 and Little Sister Road. They kept that, they changed that to commercial. And so what Barb and Bill were referring to was, it's a really tricky intersection. If you drive near there at all, it's tricky going in and out of Open Hearth, it's tricky going in and out of, if you're coming out of Little Sister Road and you want to then go into Open Heart, it's just a funky, that's what they're referring to, but just so everybody knows, the plan commission at the time, we're gonna change it to residential, and then decided not to, but kept the corridor piece of it red, or meaning commercial. Doesn't mean it's in stone, but it does, I did ask the question, so does it make it easier for a developer to want to come in and do that? And the answer is yes. The developer would not have to then go in and ask for conditional use, would not have to go in and, you know what I mean? It just makes it a little.
Just on the front portion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could
And
do the same thing with, with the open land. Right?
Yeah, and the plan commission's logic was, that's the corridor there, and I think that it's a fair point to say that's gonna be challenging to get, challenging intersection
Yeah.
there. There's gonna have to be a lot of work to make that be commercial.
So that was, but yeah, there was quite a bit. I think we lost 30% of our open lands with that change. 30 or 35%.
With the last go through.
Mhm.
I mean, does it hurt to keep it open lands, and then if somebody wants to develop there, they have to go through a few more hoops to be able to do it? Can we do that?
So the only thing that I would say is that when we're talking about this, yes, it's one thing about the current property owners, but it also is about what the parcel in the future development would be in the future if that did change hands as part of it. Not saying for better or worse that that can't be considered, but just as a consideration when talking about it, it's really about the specific parcel and what the development would be in the future. you know, and not necessarily specifically the person, that doesn't mean that it can't be expressed for the wishes as part of it. Just wanted to just throw that out there as well.
So who, is it? Is it owned by anybody now, or is it just open land?
It's,
Oh, it's privately owned by everybody. It's all different. Oh,
well, no.
Well, that's largely one owner.
One owner.
Oh,
The
this
center is the lady.
That-
This
that
red,
is-
yeah, it's privately owned by the people that own,
There's a little house there, isn't there?
yeah, Bay Ridge. That's
So you-
exactly, she lives there.
You see it within there.
Yeah, she lives there.
That's what that little parcel is.
She owns that whole parcel.
She owns the whole parcel from here to here. She lives there.
Did she want it commercial?
She did not come to the meeting, nor did any family members. When this was done, I think we did have property owners who came that saw that maybe some changes were gonna be made and spoke.
Well, so in the zoning discussions, it was left as countryside.
Oh. Okay,
So future land use does not 100% match with the current zoning.
Beautiful. but she did not attend, but
They don't have any intention of developing it.
if you were to talk to her,
I just, okay, this is gonna sound how it sounds. If I could keep it from being developed and keep it that beautiful meadowy something that's sitting there and make a developer have to jump through a few more hoops to put up a giant store there, I would totally do that. Sorry.
well, it sounds like from a zoning perspective, they're gonna have to jump through a lot of hoops,
Yes.
the way it looks. Organic, land use. and zoning.
You just recognize, at least my understanding, because I've only been at it for a
Because
year,
this is
but
land
future
use.
land use is the projection of the village.
This is zoning, it's all great.
Oh, well, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
Cause so for future land use, is it supposed to match up with the zoning one that we're voting on also?
So zoning should match what the current uses are to the best of the abilities, or what it is to date, right?
Okay.
In terms of the uses and what should be there here. The future land use is essentially, if development keeps on occurring and something was to be there, would it be its current use as it is that aligns with the zoning code? Or should it be something else in the future? And that's why it's different.
If on the Bay Ridge property, if somebody came along and wanted to develop that back to the golf course, that's commercial, right?
So for the zoning, for what the proposed zoning code is,
It's all countryside.
yes, that would be for all countryside. So if they wanted to change it, there could be. a
Like it was
request.
before.
I mean, if they wanted to, so the future land use map is not binding, so it's nothing that they're actually gonna be changing as part of it. What the restrictions would be is based off of the proposed zoning map, so that would be for countryside. So if they wanted it different, they could put in a request for a change of zoning.
Okay,
I wasn't on the commission.
And- again, golf course is commercial.
For golf courses, that one, I'd have to look to see what the permitted uses are. I'm imagining countryside. And, for commercial, I would have to double check.
it's an explicitly permitted use in the. I know that it's a. We could certainly double check that, but it's, I mean, the odds, I could tell you. Being around golf course my whole life, that's not going to be a golf course again.
It would take a lot of work.
That's, yeah, it's,
Once they decided it wasn't gonna be, it would be substantial.
as far as what it being commercial use in there, I think that's a long-term vision saying, okay, well, where does the corridor work for the village long-term?
Yeah.
And I do think that that is, if we were going to grow that business corridor, it makes sense to have it go through there. At the same point, if you're saying that we're gonna put a big store there,
DOT is
I'm
not gonna let that happen.
there's also the DOT that's gonna be a
DOT isn't gonna
huge issue
let
there because
access
you're gonna have
On
access on
42 from
highway.
there, there's no way.
So do I think
I
that
don't think, I really don't.
if we make that all open space, is it gonna make a big difference? No, I don't think it's going to.
Dangerous.
And I think I'm hearing consensus from the commission.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard two of you say that you'd like to see that stay open space. I don't know where you're at on that, Skip.
Oh, that golf course, I mean, So a conditional use is outdoor recreation, which I think golf falls under. Or countryside.
Yeah.
I'm going back to your question before, so.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that the villages was its open land. And having it. Zoned. As countryside means that any change that would happen has to go through the process of changing the zoning, and it's gonna be much more involved than just somebody coming in and. Decide to put
So
something
we
there,
put condos in there.
because you're gonna have public hearings, you're gonna have
Multifamily,
everything.
yeah.
So, Patrice, you have any thoughts on that? What, changing that, that Bay Ridge to open space on the future use? And then we'll have to deal with the zoning on the other side of it. Scott.
I am in favor of keeping it a natural area and not having that developed into a big commercial spot.
I think that we've got consensus on that. I just want to point out that if somebody else purchases that land and wants to do some other use there. It's not like we can just say, no, you can't do that. They're gonna have some right to do it, but it's just gonna be one more.
They
hoop.
just have to go through a
Right.
Yeah,
process
yeah,
to
so-
change it. So, and that was kind of why, I mean, I remember when this discussion happened prior to even my time on the commission. Now. And in a long-term sense, yeah, it made sense. I think I even raised a question about access because. It's not a road that we already talked about, is something that businesses can really use.
Yeah, I mean, like, when there was a business use down there, it was a challenging road.
Yes.
It was,
When the
stressful to go down.
resort was there.
And that was 100 years ago. So it's there. I mean, think about
Well,
it.
yeah,
Well, you know, little sister was 100 years old.
what's difficult is that, we get in our minds a business use, well. On the other side of the highway, the printer doesn't have a whole lot of activity going in and out of there.
Yeah.
And that's a business use,
Mhm.
so it's,
Yeah, I mean, right now, chances are the DOT wouldn't let Jerry's have 2 driveways.
They wouldn't.
I can remember
No.
Chris Hecht, that was a very dangerous intersection. With road, Jerry's, and then the other road coming in. He hated that intersection.
well, yeah,
Mhm.
well, isn't those apartments here? I know.
And the
I
apartments,
lived it.
yeah. Oh, and I remember when it was, because it was when Dollar General, remember, was talking about
Yes.
coming in, and they wanted access on 42 and they couldn't get it.
Oh,
They would have had to go off Fieldcrest.
Mhm.
Don't worry, they're not coming back.
So,
So I think we got consensus on that parcel.
yeah.
Okay,
Of taking the countryside all the way to. Bay
Yes.
Shore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you follow us, Ben? Yep.
So just those 2 changes, so just the countryside area and then the little triangles of multifamily to just regular residential, those are the only 2.
And those are to residential, you
Yeah.
got that correct, Ben?
Mhm.
Cause I,
Well,
Well, on the 14th, they are as multifamily, and what you're saying, we just take it over in residential.
Yep,
mhm.
well, in our discussion at plan commission was purely residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went back to the minutes and checked it. There was never discussion of multifamily there.
Right, I'm saying, but the shaping is what that matches, it's just what's,
The shape match is not. good.
yes.
Okay.
That's what I was
I
getting
didn't-
at,
Yes.
yes. And then, let's just look one step ahead briefly, Ben, if we decided that we did not want to have a 26-29. Be residential, do we need to change it from open space here to be consistent?
You're talking about the zoning map.
Yes, so I just want to see.
I did a quick look back on these parcels and. The shapes and the parcel numbers. This is one I'm gonna have to disagree with Denise, because what they really have is just access to 42, but everything behind them is all residential.
Yeah,
So to leave those as residential isn't contiguous.
okay, well, I'll leave this alone for now and say, okay. I think that, is there any other changes? Concerns?
I did not
changes?
see any other ones.
For land use.
For
On
land,
the
use,
land
for
use.
future land use.
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Kelly, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay, now let's go on to the zone.
Yes, so this one, very similar to what we were talking about, in comparison to the future land use map, the zoning map is what is used for enforcement purposes and for decisions related to development. When talking about it, the plan commission held the public hearing, and that the changes that were identified as part of that public hearing are identified on page 18, which is the draft from March 5th, 2026. There were a few along the Highway 42 corridor that would be changed. If we're talking 2629 Bay Shore Drive, that would be changed to R1. 2649 Bay Shore Drive changed to R3. And I'm just trying to read here as part of that parcel that is in the pink, that is being proposed
Yeah,
as
that was back.
multifamily.
Multifamily, that's part of what the Cleanse owns behind them.
Yes, that was
They're
this
expanding.
going all the way back for the
Oh, yeah.
parcel there.
Mhm.
So that was part of the discussion that Glen Lane property, that it should just be extended to the parcel on the back. So any questions at all based on the proposed changes or overall the zoning map that is proposed?
Okay, so behind Glen goes to, it should definitely go to R2. And I think, yeah, he's gonna, if he's gonna do a thing.
It does on the. If you look on page
Where was it?
19,
So on page 19 is what is
19.
actually
This is
being
where those Glen
proposed.
apartments are.
Okay.
There's a whole lot behind there that
Mhm.
should be zoned the same as this
that
because,
they own and is a.
yeah,
phase
but they
two
own, and actually they were supposed to
apartments.
put a couple more buildings in there.
Oh,
And they
okay.
didn't, so it should be changed to multifamily.
So that is proposed on
And that
page
one is.
19 on April
Right now, it's-
13th,
It should be
2026.
changed to an R2, which is multifamily.
Right, it is on the next page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm
And
keeping
then
it
the
here.
proposed changes were implemented for the other parcels that were discussed at the plan commission public hearing.
Okay, those two other little changes that are like down and to the left of the one we just talked about.
Yep,
So I'm still confused. Why are these contentious?
there essentially is just no other parcels around it that are similar to it. So the majority of the parcels are either general business or they're countryside. So these specific parcels, in terms of their nature, are a little bit different, and just because they're not contiguous, it could be seen as spot zoning if there wasn't a good justification for making the change.
So are you talking about back on page 18?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so those recommended changes, they were all part of what was originally countryside, which is residential and is behind it,
Mhm.
to the south of it. But because of the size, they don't fit into those zoning categories.
the size of each lot.
The
So it's
size of each
divided
lot.
at some time
Yeah.
into that
The,
lake shaped something.
So I believe it's 5 acres. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So Ben, why don't I put you on the spot? What do you think of that spot zoning argument for and against? What do you see saying that it is, and what do you see saying that? you have to argue
Yeah,
both
I
ways?
mean, or like I said, it's really that there's nothing else that would be similar neighboring those parcels, but in terms, excuse me, yes, if we want to say for, and then against, we would say that ultimately there is good justification for those to be different because they do not fit the criteria for the standard dimensional table for countryside.
well, and if you look at what's below them, it's got the forest overlay, so it's a little bit deceiving, but it's residential
Mhm.
to the south of it also. So it's contiguous to those as residential. It doesn't mean that if somebody wasn't looking to add business to it, if they bought the properties, that zoning couldn't be changed, there'd be good justification since it's all commercial along there.
Mhm.
We're talking about this one right here.
There's two. There's one here.
That's
And there's
R
one
one
there.
we're proposing, and this is R2 we're proposing.
R3.
They're going from.
Oh, there's also, okay.
So the smaller one is 1.1 acres, the larger one is 5.2.
Is there a house on here now?
An
little one?
Yes,
There's old one that's kind of little,
So it is kind of already R1?
Overlay.
There is, an old farmhouse there. I don't know if, yeah, there is, and there's an
Okay.
easement. Going
To
in
get to the
between,
road.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
Yeah,
a house.
basically, those two have access to 42.
And this we're proposing R3, and you said it's okay because what is also nearby? This is all
So-
woodland?
So these were originally part of the CS1, which is what this green area is.
Yeah.
Which is countryside residential,
Okay.
but because of their size, they don't fit that.
Yeah, weird. Okay.
But
That's
they're
why it's
still
R3
residential,
with this
so-
large lot. Residential.
Oh. So this is large lot residential?
Yeah.
That's what we're proposing?
Mhm,
Oh,
mhm.
I'm honestly.
This one is weird. I just,
It's, yeah.
Okay.
So they don't exactly fit many of the criteria, but if
Mhm.
we're talking about the existing use, that would be for what the proposed changes are. It's just that there aren't a lot of other parcels neighboring it that share that same use necessarily, depends on your interpretation.
so could this one because this is going to R2, right?
No, that,
R1, which
that's
has one house.
because it's 1.1 acres
Oh, okay.
and currently residential.
Sorry, so it's going
Yeah,
to, sorry, it's going to R1, right? So it can't be a multi, okay, gotcha.
Ben, who would challenge us on this and decide that, say, you can't do this isn't okay?
Primarily, if there is any issues with it, it is the property owner that would be associated with it if they had any concerns.
So it's gonna be if somebody tries to do something that they can't. because they're not.
Correct,
And
Okay.
Because it's
Yeah.
contiguous.
because otherwise it would not necessarily impact any other neighboring property owners. But with that being said, if there was any issues with that impacted their parcels, they might also have issues, but just that the fact that development is already there for that existing use, I wouldn't anticipate any issues.
Therese, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, it does. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
I think we go ahead with it as is.
So you said R3 is residential. I thought you said it was
So it's
large lot.
large.
Here I said, it
Is it?
says it's high density residential development.
No,
In our code, it's, oh, you Googled it.
Yeah, it says
But if you
phase
look at our
R3
code,
zoning
okay, look at
district
here.
aimed at high density.
But you look at our zoning map, right? So scroll over, scroll up, R3, large lot residence.
R1, 2, and 3 mean different things in different places.
Because-
So like,
I
it's
Googled it
specific
too.
to
I
our
Googled it
zoning
different
code,
way.
because we've
I
got R4, which means something completely different.
Yeah, because
It's not-
I Googled
Right,
it too, and
that's
I'm
more
like,
high
wait a
density,
second,
so I
that's.
assume that the more number, higher the number, the higher the density.
That
Is
would,
that
that would
right?
make sense, but
Okay.
no, we don't need sense here.
What about R2?
R2 is multifamily.
Oh,
So typically, there is a standard of color and for what the designation is, but it isn't always the
it
case.
doesn't render well, screen some.
Well, especially they're there are 3 different colors of orange for Cabot. I mean, they could have been a little more creative.
I gave up on that battle. These are state selected colors.
Of course they are.
I only have one other question, comment, whatever you want to call it. Same situation all the way over to the, east, those 2 big 40s that are right next to where we were gonna put the
That's Wiltsey.
village at. No, not Wiltsey, that's
Oh.
up here in the orange.
Oh, where were you?
Down here, there's 80 acres and it's zoned R2 on here.
Is that,
Multifamily residential, I think, I mean, what's the smallest lot size you can do on an R3 large lot? Like, what's the smallest acreage?
So
If it's
in,
anything less than a Heartland 5, I don't like the way this is.
so it just depends. I mean, we're looking at it in terms of how the parcel currently is, but it also could be, subdivided to be that, and it would need to meet what the standard dimensions are for that specific zoning.
So if right now, that's farmland.
Mhm.
And you wanna switch it, or the commission or whoever proposed it wants to switch it to R2 multifamily residence. I'm sorry, I don't like that. I would say I would prefer R1 over that, or R3 large lot, or some sort of Heartland 5. I don't even know if you can do that outside of Liberty Grove anymore. But to go from 80 acres of farmland to multifamily residence, I think that's a lot of buildings on 80 acres.
I think one of the reasons to do, that it was looked at that way, is because we do have the sewer and water here, and there is a need for it. I mean, I know that there's, Chris Heck used to speak to that, and I understand that it's not our responsibility, but we have the infrastructure here. It's gonna get built somewhere. And as much as we might wanna put large lot residential, we're just gonna further sprawl out then. Now we're gonna make it all the way up ZZ with the same number of people. I don't disagree that maybe,
So,
With that, I
Bridget,
mean,
um,
if you build a high density homes, you're gonna invite, I mean, that's a lot of people that can move, I don't know.
so
That just seems like a lot on that.
recognize that the R2 still allows single family residence.
Right, but it also allows,
It allows
does it allow apartment buildings and condo buildings and,
residential condos, yes, and multifamily dwelling units.
right, I just,
It doesn't say apartments.
again, there's no way to say it that isn't probably gonna offend. I'm sure someone will be offended by this. I would prefer to not invite higher density development. In addition to the fact that we just changed that whole Wiltsey property to R4.
trying to say that the awful for the Wiltsey property is something that we control, so that's.
I know, but
Like-
we change it to R4, people really wanna build it and it, you know,
So
that's coming down the road. I don't know, if this is listed as R2 and the sale price for that lot ever drops, you're gonna end up with a ton of condos on those 80 acres. I'm just saying, if that's what everybody wants, that's what everybody wants. But I don't think that's what everybody
So
wants.
what's already contiguous to that, right to the,
I mean,
West.
R1 can take us to it.
no, that's where we've got the plan unit development, we've
Institutional.
got.
That's where the future admin building was going to go, that's why we changed it to institutional and
Yeah,
then Parks
and
and
the other
Rec.
side is institutional.
To the north,
Oh, north?
Yeah.
North is single family,
yeah,
Yeah.
so Maple Drive is R1
it's
there.
all our one.
Mhm. It's like, okay, you make it residential, but I would be way more comfortable with it being R3 large lot residential.
What is it right now? Is it R2 now?
Right now, it's a farm.
No, I know. So what is it? The current zoning for that is what?
Or can you point out where
It's
you're,
countryside?
Yeah, the bottom.
Right here. I don't know, right in the
no,
thing.
that's okay, you can. Let me just quick pull up the map.
I mean, it's next to countryside.
Currently, right now,
Trying to stir the pot, everybody.
these colors make no sense. It is currently R2
Oh,
on our current zoning map, so that's not a change.
Oh, well, that happened. before
You're
I was
talking
there.
about these parcels, right?
And I think at the plan commission,
Mm,
no,
No,
those two.
these two. This isn't,
That one's not, but
what's this
it's,
one?
That one's countryside and the one on top
that's
of it
R2
is.
right now, and this is R2.
So one
And-
is R2 and the
And,
southern one is countryside.
but
Or the,
It's two
these
floors.
are owned by the same,
these are owned by the same person.
these two.
These
This
two.
one and this one,
Mm-mm, these two.
no, because this is where Nick is doing the plan unit development.
And this is this 80 is owned by the same person.
I thought he had the one behind the plan unit development, is he south of it?
he's just got the 140, and he's got some of his own land in there, he doesn't have.
See, I thought he still
I
had
think
what's
he has
behind
the-
the PUD.
Mm-mm.
It's not a full 40, I know, let me go look at his. Lot here.
I'm just
Yes,
saying,
he's got the partial
He's
40,
got the
just to
part
the south
behind
of it. Yeah, it's got the patio carved out, so it's not,
get my Onyx map.
Where it says
I'm
PUD.
not ready.
But
That's his.
he's got what's east of the PUD also, because that's where his current house is, correct?
East. Okay.
And his barn. and-
This is what I'm talking about.
his house
This
is
is that
south
80?
of that beauty.
It's
Yeah,
all owned by the
oh,
same
okay.
person.
Right,
Yeah, there's so if I remember.
I'm just, sorry, go ahead.
So some of your concerns came up with plan commission, because I believe all of that going all the way down to Flint Bridge was set to be residential, and there was conversation about if CS1 was residential. And Skip, I believe you read the definition of CS1 and it said large lot residential, and I think I argued and convinced everyone
And
that,
I think my counter argument was that it's a lot easier to go from large lot residential down to something else, but you can
Mhm.
never go back.
yeah, so
Right,
this is less than what the plan commission actually proposed initially. I don't know if that probably doesn't make you feel any better,
Oh,
but
I don't like it.
There was a lot of time spent.
yeah,
I did go back and try to listen to as many of them as I could. But I just think if you zone it for condos, you're gonna get condos. And everyone I talk to doesn't
All they
want
did
more
was have
condos.
this
So
R2.
so what would you propose to change it to?
I would put it either back to CS1 or R3.
No, it's.
And the northern lot is already R2, correct Ben?
The northern lot is, yeah.
Currently is, yeah.
But that
This is
South Forty,
currently R2,
The
right,
southern lot is
Yeah.
countryside.
and this is countryside right now.
I wouldn't change the other countryside one, and I would, if you wanna change one to R3. Do the top one back from R2 to R3.
I don't think we should be changing the one that's already been there for so long.
How
Right.
long has it been like that? Well, actually, you would, I don't think you're gonna know that.
At least since 10 and 25.
Yeah.
Okay, then I would say, please don't change the bottom 40.
So what if we have
R2.
the bottom 40 go to R3? So what is it, what would R3 limit that to then?
Hmm?
Like how many?
Yeah, they're gonna.
I mean,
sell
when
it,
we're
and somebody's
talking-
gonna buy it, and they're gonna put condos.
Guys, we need to have one conversation.
Sorry.
No, no,
Okay,
it's-
here
This is the problem.
Here was the conversation. They've been for sale on and off. As soon as that price goes down just enough and they're listed as R2, I've already run the numbers. You could for sure buy them and put a bunch of condos and make your money right back.
R3 is 5 acre minimums.
I like that way better.
Yeah, so I mean, when we're talking about the R3 permitted uses, it'd be for the single family dwelling. it'd be-
Licensed community living arrangements.
Yep, public parks, essential services, municipal building and facilities. So essentially, when we're talking about it, it mainly would be for the single family dwelling.
What's a licensed community living thing?
Nursing home.
Let's build one of those. I'm looking for one. I need one in like 10 years, but a nice one.
At least we have to look at what the community needs, not what we need.
Good, I'm
The
walking.
community's gonna need it
We're all
too.
gonna need it. So that's, we need to get into that business,
It would be allowable.
but we don't have any staff. That's the problem.
So,
Why don't you build one of those?
Carrie, I haven't heard from you on this. What are your thoughts on?
I think I'm liking what Bridget's saying. I agree that we start making it attractive for somebody to build and build and build and push to them to do it. I think anything that can be done to sort of slow it down so us, plan commission, zoning board, whatever, can kind of sit back and say, okay, what's going on here? Let's think about this. So I think anything we can do to,
It doesn't prevent it, because they can still come to us and ask
Right,
for a change, right?
but again, you're talking about before, I think it's like we were talking about before. If I understand this all correctly, would probably create a few more hoops for somebody to go through. And that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if they're gonna try to get it, yeah, it doesn't really matter what it's zoned, but I'd rather have it zoned to where they have to
Let's not
go
make it
through.
so easy, yeah. I like the large lot idea, Nate. And I wasn't part of the discussion originally, and it looks like you guys did what, not like you didn't want, I don't know what the discussion was, a plan, but do you like?
It
the
was
large
extensive.
Yeah, and I
lot
think that
idea?
this is not what plan started with. I mean, there was quite a bit of movement on this already that I don't think was in the same sort of thought pattern that you have, Bridget, maybe just not quite as far. So I don't think it's not coming way out of left field. It's just a little bit first. It's degrees is what it is.
Yeah.
So Patrice, I want to give you a chance to speak up. I know sometimes it's hard when you're remote.
Yeah, so I really have to stick with what we discussed at the planning commission. A lot of work and time went into this expertise, Skip and Denise and yourself, and I just feel like we need to stick with what the planning commission came up with.
So that would be to keep one the way it is right now and take the other one from countryside to residential, right? to R2.
Countryside is residential, it's just.
Yes,
the Level of it.
Gotcha, but to R2, so they're both the same, zoned the same.
Nate, can I add something?
yes,
So, from financial standpoint, thinking about budget levy and future, what actually helps to spread the cost, divide the overhead, it's net new construction. So for the future, more build, better situation for public in terms of covering the budget needs.
Yep,
Just saying.
yeah, it's a fine line, right?
so that, what it comes down to me is density. You either have sprawl or you've got density, there's not a magical third option. And do you want that development there, or do you want it stretched out? Because I understand what you're saying, Bridget, to an extent, it's going to be happening a little faster if it's all in there, but as far as. We really should be careful about large lot residential because it is extremely expensive for the village to deliver services. And it can be a huge burden on the village in the long term. And that's taken out a lot of communities. That built it, and they even have gotten federal funding to build out some of this infrastructure, but because it's so spread out. The ongoing expense to maintain it can be great, so. I would prefer to see it stay R2.
We have services out there right now. It goes out all the way to Woodcrest, doesn't it?
It goes to Woodcrest, there's,
I know,
now
not
you're looking at
further. I
even
got
less
you.
density, but we're gonna compel people to hook up to sewer and water. You know, as that built, cause if you have sewer and water in front of you, you have to connect to it.
But it
Which
was
is gonna be an
large,
expense for them, but it's also gonna be an ongoing expense for the system.
right?
So that'd be my argument against it. I hear what you're saying, Bridget, and I can't say, no, I think you're completely wrong, I just.
Yeah, I don't know, I try to talk to as many people as I can, I hear what I hear, one of the number one things that I hear is. And nothing against condo buildings, they're great, you don't have to take care of a yard, you can show up, everything works, people check on, I get it. And especially down by the water, the more people you can get on the water in less space, totally get that. But the number one thing I hear is, we spend too much money and, oh my gosh, is there another condo development going up? Like, people are just, they're done with the condo development, so I can't vote yes to an R, I would be a nay. If
To
it stays-
changing both of them.
to changing both of them to R2. I would feel like I would just be like, screw you to everybody who told me that.
I think I would say that I would be listening to people saying we're spending too much money. By pushing that to be a large lot, but that's just a little different angle, and
The more people you add also, yes, it's more tax dollars, but you also have more service needs,
More
all these other
Oh,
things,
yeah.
and I don't think it's quite as. I don't know.
well, so that's really
I'm okay with everything else.
it's the only contentious point. Then I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion that we approve it as presented. Motion by Bell,
Now I'll second it.
second by Heidler. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi,
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Did not pass. Would somebody else like to make a motion?
Yeah, we could, well, you make. You're the one that started this, you make the motion.
Come on.
I don't know if the final that.
Dennis.
Okay.
You can strike that from the record.
Okay, if I were to make a motion, it would be to approve this with the amendment of having that south-facing 40 stay Countryside 1 and the northern 40 be R3 large lot residential.
So you're
With
saying,
the possibility of it being looked at again in the future.
just to clarify, you're saying the northern one, we should rezone, change the zoning from R2 to R3.
That would be my ideal.
Okay, I just wanna make sure we have I want your words to be reflected accurately.
What if it stayed, or just, what if that stayed R2? And then the lower, sorry, the southernmost 40.
State countryside, and we just don't change these 240s at all from what they are right now.
No, no, that's not, I don't think that's what I said. So this stays R2 and this is,
R3,
no, this.
So
is
what,
countryside, right, that's what it is now. But this is the change,
I know,
right, yeah,
I know, this goes back to countryside.
so it essentially would just be the same as what it is on the current.
Right.
zoning.
what it is now.
But
So,
that's
so you
not what
could,
you said
you
started
could,
in your motion.
you could put, wait,
I
what?
don't feel with emotion.
Well, she started.
It's not a motion,
I
I'm just
said
asking
define
her,
word.
I'm
If-
asking her. But, cause then you could put condos there. Which is horrible.
Right behind everybody's houses.
Yeah. Who's over there?
He's already got duplexes in the development, so it's multifamily.
Yeah, he does.
The other thing there is that is also where we desperately need to get Canterbury extended.
Well, that's the other piece of it too.
That is.
So if we, so that's an interesting thought if that ever happens. So,
So what if that were R1 and you ran that street right through there?
I think you're gonna have, I don't see how it's gonna cash flow out to be something like less than R1 to have to put that road in, but maybe R1 works there. I would like to see it stay R2 personally. I would. What if we left that R2 and we changed the other one, left, that is R2, the one south of that was CS1. What if we did that?
Back to the original zoning in that area.
Okay,
Could you live with that?
yeah.
but I
No,
gotta look up
yes.
CS1, countryside, okay.
Can you repeat that?
Okay. So let's get,
It's like your animals. You gotta.
I want to have the parcel numbers, cause, or at least the address, so. 2277, and is that Woodcrest or is that off of Canterbury?
I think this address is the northern 40,
Is
I
Maple.
think it's the
Maple,
Maple Drive.
yeah.
It is Maple.
2277 Maple Drive stays R2. And then. This probably doesn't have an
I think the
address.
back 40 is part of it.
In that address,
There's no address because there's nothing there.
so it's gotta be those, there's a small band of residential right on Maple, and then that is south of it.
Yeah,
Do you want parcel number?
I
I think we've got it good enough then, or? do you
Yeah,
think we're-
Yeah.
Both are documented, R2 to the north,
Yeah.
CS1 to the south.
Okay,
Okay,
do you wanna make that motion? Should I make that motion?
you can go ahead and.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve this amending the. The lot south of 2277 Maple Drive to CS1. And adopt the new zoning map. Without those amendments. Motion by Bell.
Wait, let me see that motion again, hear that motion again, and adopt what?
We're not doing anything with 2277. We're gonna change what was presented for.
I think that's the.
Whatever that
CS1.
lot is, which is not CS1, gotcha, okay. Second.
Okay. Motion by Bell, second by Houseman. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Hey,
Okay. Patrice, were you for or against that one?
Sorry. It was a tough decision for me. I want to change it to nay. I said yes, but I'm going to change it to nay. Can I do that?
Okay. Yep, we can record it that way.
still passes.
Yep, so it passes 4-2. All right,
I'm just trying to figure out why isn't it?
well, I would just like to say, Bridget, I appreciate your questions, and that's really important that people are comfortable asking those questions, and I would encourage you to keep asking the questions, because if you don't know and you don't ask questions, you're never gonna know, so I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion items. Saber BBQ Company. Class C1, who has got that today?
Yes, so Julie is not here tonight, but I'll just be presenting it on her behalf. For the board members that were here a few months ago, or if you were looking at the previous board packets, there was one for Lush Salon for a Class C wine license. This is very similar to what's going on for Saber BBQ. They're putting in they put in an application for a Class B beer license and a Class C wine license. Everything was reviewed by Julie, and that there was no issues with what the application was. And that essentially they'd be looking for having this to be approved, and it was put in the paper, and all the requirements were met. So this is essentially just moving forward with recommending approval for the Class B and Class C wine.
So I have a question, because this is where it was confusing me. Because I highlighted
Bridal
it and I'm
parties.
like, oh my God, this is a typo. I think that they like brought the one over from the other bridal thing and it be like.
It was,
accidentally
it was part of it. So Julie was in and out with some things this week, so this was quick put together as part of it, but she.
But it's accurate. So there's Juicy Burgers and they have, Juicy Burgers has the site where Savor used to be, right? And so where Savor used to be, did they serve beer and wine? Did they have a license?
And beer.
They have beer,
Yeah.
okay. So they got a Class B beer license. I don't know if they had wine, but they had a Class B beer license, right? So now we have Savor, so there where then we know where Graphics is gonna be. I'm assuming that restaurant's gonna serve beer, so that's a Class B license
Mhm.
for Savor.
Mhm.
And then they're also gonna have a bridal salon area kind of separate.
I think
Sorry,
it's a
this is
typo.
just from the past one that was
Ignore
quick put together.
Oh, okay, so I'm not losing my mind.
Yes.
Great. Okay, good.
No, so this is essentially just
I
them,
mean, it might be kind of fun.
might be kind of fun,
But
but essentially it's the same thing stands. The application is just for a
Gotcha.
regular license.
all right,
Then everything's gonna be put away at the end of the night, I believe underneath the bar, but there was no issues with the scope of what they were looking for as part of the application.
So
And
is,
why does this end in June?
thank you, that's what I was.
So as part of it, I believe that's just the annual license, but I.
It is.
I think that's
Yeah.
when they all renew.
license-
Is this a
renewing here.
transfer?
Oh, because
So-
they're moving?
Because this is the remainder of the year, so then we're gonna get to see all of the liquor licenses
Got it,
back
okay.
in.
So everybody comes
Yeah.
in June.
July.
So if it's
Yeah.
out of the year, so if it's not a renewal, it's gonna be coming mid-year and then it's gonna be ending in the June 30th. And then the reason that they need to do this, even though they're moving locations, is that when we're talking about the liquor license, it's based off of the area and where it's being served. So that is changing as part of it,
It's because of the move.
because of the move.
Yeah.
So it's a new area that they're serving in, so they need a new license.
So we just have to
So-
approve it?
It'd be, yes, it'd be for recommendation for approval is what Julie is asking for that.
okay, so moved.
Are you looking for a motion?
Yeah.
I'd make a motion. Oh,
Second,
sorry.
Kelly?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Kelly, second by Hanson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Okay, operational agreement for the boathouse.
So I was really hoping at the previous meeting that we would not be revisiting this, but we are just one more time, hopefully revisiting this, but essentially following the approval of the agreement. Essentially, we had the different legal parties provide their review as part of it. There was some different concerns on the part of the Historical Society attorney. Randy, the village's attorney, did review everything and he was fine with what the proposed changes are. I did include the email of what was proposed as part of it, and he did confirm through both email communication and from verbal communication that he is fine with everything that is being presented within the current agreement, and it does not provide any issues in terms of liability for the village. So essentially, just to get this thing executed and so that renovations can start on the part of the Historical Society, the staff recommendation is to approve this version of the agreement for execution.
So essentially, he just removed the default paragraph.
Correct.
It was in both, but you really only needed in one.
Yeah.
And they were saying two different things.
6 months.
They just forgot to clean up those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also would like to recommend that they get the numbering straight. They took out 7 and didn't renumber it.
So actually, as part of that agreement, so this was the version that Randy provided and that was brought up. And in the executed version of the agreement, it has been corrected.
It's not what we saw, so.
Yes, it was corrected afterwards based on the Historical Society bringing it to the attention.
You're right, there's no seven, okay.
Yeah, they just struck that version.
Gotcha. All right.
Questions on this?
No,
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as presented. Motion by Bell,
Second?
second by White. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Future administration building, RFP for architectural and engineering services.
So at the Parks Committee level, there have been multiple discussions regarding the new admin building and the process moving forward. So there has been different discussions about the needs assessment and moving forward to the RFP for searching for architecture and engineering services. A base version of the RFP was reviewed by the Parks Committee, and there was some different modifications that were outlined as part of this. And so essentially those modifications were made, and that it was intended to be recommended for the village board for essentially authorizing this for moving forward for the RFP process for getting an architecture engineer and moving forward on the process for constructing a new admin building. So essentially as part of this, the intention is to review the language that was included as part of the RFP, making sure that everyone's on the same page in terms of what the process would be and what the criteria are. And then ultimately, if it's okay as presented, we'd be seeking a motion for moving to approve the RFP as presented. Otherwise, if there are any concerns regarding the content of the RFP, we'd be interested in having that included as part of the modifications and then determining whether or not it should be brought back. Or if it's fine, just making the modifications and having staff issue this or seeking a firm to provide the architecture and engineering work. And then just the last thing as part of the attachment, there is both a red line version from the changes that were made from the Parks Committee meeting. And then there is also just a clean version that's included on there. The red line starts on page 32 and that the clean version starts on page 37.
So I think grammatically, there's some adjustments that need to be made in one of the paragraphs because of the redlining. Page 33, section under overview and solicitation. Just before the first red line where it says finalize the two should be taken out and it should be for design. And further down the next line, after the and meeting room and to prepare a complete set, two should be added. Minor, but there's.
One other minor thing, page 35, under selection criteria.
Particular.
Well, also, we said that it should list, they are listed in no particular order.
I was gonna,
Oh,
that was my
there we go.
question. Why is?
Yeah, it's just a,
Is this
it's just a
the
There we
typo.
go. It
So-
probably just got,
Yeah.
I think you probably had that in there and then it just, I think my Grammarly sometimes messes it up.
Okay, so no particular order, and you're right, we don't need an E. Mhm. That's what I saw, otherwise I think it looks fine.
The one comment I would have on this is a lot of redlining for an RFP. I was surprised by that, but I also want to point out that this is the first time that the Parks Committee had ever reviewed an RFP. So this is one that we had pulled out from a couple of years ago. So
Right,
that's why it is that way. Okay, motion to approve RFP as amended.
Sorry.
Sure.
I didn't get to listen to the whole video, but there will obviously be a lot of items included with this to give to.
Correct, so we'll have as much information as we can, just regarding the parcel information and the history, including a snippet of what the parcel looks like. It's intended as part of this process to eventually get a survey if it doesn't already exist. I think that there is, there, at least based on the preliminary review, one was not on file that we could find.
Have Sorry, I was looking it up because just so I
You
could
did?
see the building. There's a plat survey and then there was one from 2006, but it's not
Okay.
topographic.
Okay, so yeah, that would need to be done as part of the survey,
Yeah.
for it. But, yeah, so yeah, there'd be multiple attachments that would be included as part of it. To outline the area. And really, when we're talking about it as well, what's important about the RFP for architecture and engineering
Mhm.
isn't necessarily as much about the site plan. Any architecture and engineer, they're gonna be requesting that as part of the process.
Yeah,
Really, when we're looking at it, it's who do we trust to ultimately implement the vision for the site? You know, it would be more about their credentials, doing it and aligning with what the future building would be. And then they can get the information as part of it.
okay. Just to know how it all worked.
Any more questions?
Okay, I'll move to accept the RFP with the, modifications noted.
Motion by Allison,
Excuse me, second.
second by Kelly. All those in favor?
All
I,
right,
Aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, pavilion rental, waterfront park fee schedule.
All right. This also is something that is referral from the Parks Committee as well. So as part of this, it was identified that the pavilion fee for Waterfront Park was not identified as part of the 2026 fee schedule, but there is some different fees that were identified on the village facility rental agreement. So to rectify this, this is going to the village board. The recommendation of the Parks Committee was to change those fees to strictly $200 per event without identifying nonprofit or for-profit status. So previously it was a much higher value both for nonprofits and for-profits, and so this would be lowering what the value would be for that. I would say that it doesn't have too many rentals within the year. But ultimately, what we're hoping to review is just whether or not the recommendation is appropriate as part of the fee. And then to incorporate that into the revised 2026 fee schedule.
I don't, and Nate, maybe you remember, I thought we said that, and I could be, maybe I'm just not remembering right, that it would only be for nonprofits to rent the pavilion stage. Am I wrong?
Oh. So what I recall was that was part of the discussion, but then what ended up was that it was $200 no
No matter what.
matter what,
Whoever it was.
whoever
And
it
it could
was.
be either a nonprofit or, you know, another organization.
Yes, and then as part of the
Okay.
nonprofit policy,
Uh-huh,
like that was just whether or not we should have a, you know,
yeah,
discounted rate as part of it. So
Mhm.
I think that was just the prior discussion to this one,
Okay.
because they're kind of tied together somewhat, but
okay, all right.
When you say pavilion, are you talking about,
It's the stage at
The stage,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
stage on the beach.
okay,
yes.
Yep.
So a lot of it is used by SBAA, but there is the availability for anyone that would have the capacity to rent it and utilize that. Depending on the purpose, there are different conditions that are associated with it for playing music and things like that, but
So the symphonic band. So they don't use it, they don't rent it through, or the SBA doesn't book them. But they go through the village, and so we hadn't pulled out the stage from renting, and so they're like $2,500, you know, that's. Wait a second, so we pull it out, now it's $200, but the SBAA is gracious enough to include them in their concert series posters and in all of their promoting. So they usually play on a Monday or Tuesday night, something like that. What? No, everything's changed there.
As much as every time we talk about nonprofits, I bring up, nonprofits aren't always just the groups you think. Nonprofit is a designation that has a big umbrella that isn't just the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. But in this case, I kind of think maybe we want to just make this for nonprofits for that rate. Or that just only rent it to nonprofits. I think that is a reasonable thing to do for that stage.
Well, I don't know, I'd have to think about that, because. I mean, like, what if it was some high school kids? What if it was, you know, there's, I mean, and it's rare that people wanna rent it. You know, it is, then it doesn't happen very often.
So what happens if somebody wants to rent it and and actually conduct business there? I assume then we're protected from that because you couldn't have a concert there that you sell tickets to or something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean,
And they have to take out insurance, right?
yeah, anyone that is for profit needs to have the insurance
Yeah.
coverage that be associated with it per the village facility rental agreement.
I guess I'm just thinking about some of our past experiences.
So as part of it, anyone that, or you know, any group, anyone that would be seeking to play any music as part of it, I mean, you can't control everything, but there is just as part of it, the pre-screening process. That's associated with the facility rental agreement to identify, you know, what type of music they're playing and generally get a sampling of it before doing the approval.
I would say, because they should be submitting YouTube videos,
Yeah, that's as part of the form. and
like
part of
live
the-
YouTube videos.
Yeah, so they have
Yeah.
samples as part of it that's included within the approval
Yeah,
process.
it's easier to do like a studio one, but a live YouTube video is helpful.
So help me with geography on this. Is this included in the waterfront park? Or is this?
No, it's separate. If they just want to do the stage, use the stage.
But anybody that's using the stage is also gonna use what's in front of it.
Well, if people are
Figure out.
coming, yeah, they'll be,
So there is,
And that's why I'm asking, so where is waterfront park?
it's a good question.
Cause it rents for about $600 a day.
Well, Waterfront Park could be up to $2,500. Unless they're going to Marina. Park.
That's the weekend
Yeah,
4-day thing, which is
Okay.
about $600 a day.
right. So this would be for like, well, it would depend on, for this particular thing, and maybe our thinking was out of line. So we were thinking of performance. So if it's one performance one night, it's $200. If it's another performance the second night, it's another $200, right?
yep, I mean, right now, the language was per event, but that would be interpreted
Which
essentially
could
as
be,
a day.
you could have two different people on one day. Could.
Yeah, you could. I mean, it's not likely, but you could. That's true. You could. Mhm.
But going back.
But
to the
are they
question,
renting it, or is there, for instance, a for-profit organization that's running it and they've got two different bands up there? I don't know. You know what I mean?
But I still go back to my original question of what is waterfront park and is this part of it? And
The
then,
people that are listening to the music are gonna be sitting
Sitting
in
in
Waterfront Park,
okay,
correct?
so renting,
Or on the beach or wherever they are.
But they don't have exclusive use of water.
But they don't have
they have
it
exclusive
exclusively.
use, but they have
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, they don't have an exclusive use though, but in that other $2,500 fee or whatever it is, depending the time of year, that's typically a big tent and that's for an event.
Weddings, I mean, I
Yeah,
get.
yeah, I know you know,
Get
yeah.
what most of that is.
So
What
are
I'm
you
trying
suggesting that,
To be devil's
they could-
advocate, that somebody could just rent this and have use of the park for the $200 instead of the,
um. But I'm not sure what kind of use of the park they would get. Everybody else would kind of still be there, right? I mean,
You
wouldn't-
can't,
they
if
wouldn't-
anybody's
they are
going
anyway.
in there.
but they wouldn't have it exclusively is what I mean. It wouldn't be.
I would say that there aren't too many, at least. There aren't too many rentals specifically for the pavilion, and when they're doing it, it mostly is for a music event that they're utilizing it for. And if they're not associated with SBAA, essentially, it's what the fee should be specifically for that use. And that it isn't used that often, that generally there is an issue of having conflict with the other uses of the park. So I mean, not to say that there's no theoreticals that be evaluated, but I think it's just, I don't know if there is too much of an issue. I think it's just that the thought of the park committee was that no matter what, that fee was too high because it was just assumed that it was the use of waterfront park. It wasn't specifically identified. But if it's just for the pavilion and it's used for events, you know, is $200 specifically an appropriate amount for anyone, whether profit or nonprofit.
I mean, is there language in there that says that it doesn't, I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't infringe on the use of, the public use of,
yes, that
Park?
was explained in there that. And I think in all the,
Yeah,
just in the contract in general, whether it's for the pavilion or the other stuff.
or the gazebo, yeah.
That there can be other people there.
yeah.
Yes, so keep in
It's not
mind that the
exclusive
beach and
use.
surrounding areas are public spaces. The village cannot guarantee that the public won't be present during your event.
Mhm.
So you rent it out for $200, they have a music thing, other people are there,
Yeah.
they take advantage, they could.
Mhm. But you're suggesting we should charge more, is that what you mean?
I think it seems very low for what it is, for what's invested there, for what probably goes along, even though they gotta take their own garbage and everything else. Sure,
Right.
there's still staff that has to clean up after it to some extent.
They have to clean their own, well, in Village Hall, they have to take out their own garbage. I don't know if we put any language in there about garbage. For people there, but how do you, this is gonna
I
be
know.
weird, how do you distinguish between the garbage from the public and the people that came to see them garbage? But.
My whole point
so-
is just that there's.
You know, I agree. Now,
staff.
you're right, they're gonna use electricity, they're gonna turn lights on, they can do that, they're gonna turn lights on, especially if it's at night or in the evening, they will use electricity. And they'll
Nate?
probably use some parks time.
Yep,
Yeah.
Trace,
As a member of the symphonic band, I do not think you should raise it more than $200. We're doing a community service. We play for families, like small children. We're, enhancing the village that night by providing our music there. We get paid nothing, and we put a lot of effort and time and expense into what we do. And $200 is a lot for us. So, and we do, when we do raise money with donations, we give it for scholarships to the Gibraltar kids and the Door County kids. So I think $200 is plenty of a rental fee for just the stage.
Well, the other thing too, and this probably wasn't mentioned, was they can't sell anything. They can't sell beer, wine, they can't sell T-shirts, they can't, none of that. So they're not making a profit in that respect. They can take donations. I mean, people can throw money in a pot. So,
But Patrice, it almost sounds like the symphonic needs to figure out some kind of arrangement with the village. Because almost anything is gonna be a hindrance to that. But we can't set everything that the village does based on one group.
would you, do we
I
want,
still think, I mean, it is that we are a nonprofit, and I just think we're just using the stage and we clean up after ourselves. I don't see why we would need to charge us more than that.
I mean, do you want to structure it for nonprofits and then a different fee structure for a for-profit?
I think that makes a little bit of sense.
Door County-based nonprofit, since we've got it elsewhere in our code.
Yeah.
Fee structure.
For a couple $100 and 500 for, I mean, that might be for, listen, for a small band up here, that's not a nonprofit, $500 is a lot. But, because they expect to get paid at least that to just show up, but we could, I mean,
Well, but who's putting them there? I mean, that's,
they are, yeah, right.
Louise, maybe you know the answer to this question. So when Conscious Pilot plays every Labor Day on that stage, and the SBAA, I believe, pays them a nice sum to play for that event, what do they pay? I mean,
Does the FBAA
Yeah.
play for them to be able to use that stage?
yeah.
SBA events, but.
No, the SBA, you're asking what the SBA pays for the stage?
Yeah, and what do they pay the band, and what do they pay for the stage for that event?
So, they don't pay anything for the stage, and there's an operational agreement between the village and the Sister Bay Advancement Association that they work on it every year. And essentially, there are the requirements that the Sister Bay Advancement Association has to meet in order to, for instance, use village property at no charge, and also to get some funding from the village. And in the sense that in doing so, it brings people into the village, which generates revenue for lodging, generates revenue for sports, for outdoor activities, as well as shopping and dining. So that's kind of how that works.
Could the village invite the symphonic folks in and not charge for it because we're asking them to come in.
That's why I was saying, it sounds like some kind of arrangement needs to be worked out there.
So it's also carved out specifically within some of the code for allowing for that for SBA besides just the operational agreements. In terms of this year, this was not passed and that everything was executed in terms of what the existing practices were specifically for the symphonic band. But I think in terms of Skip's point, it's a larger thing in terms of equity about if we're saying specifically for nonprofits that it's a specific rate, you know, that's one thing, it's equitable for all the other nonprofits out there that might be willing to use it. But then, you know, it just depends whether or not there's a tiered system for doing that for for-profit groups as well. So I guess that's kind of the question that we're talking about, is that should there be a tiered system of nonprofit or for-profit? And then what should it be for that? Because it should be equitable as much as possible for the groups out there.
You can make it easy and just say 200, then double it to 400.
I'd say 200 for Door County-based nonprofits, 400 for others.
And the policy specifically for like it, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, the existing policy for nonprofits is also like present for it if there is a nonprofit status on there. So
Yeah,
it just depends on what the amount should be.
So if we go with that, or does that work then?
Yeah, I don't see any issues with it, and frankly, and it was kind of all over the board in the past, so just having something consistent would be good.
If it, I actually like that they're both lower. I think $2,500 to rent the stage is crazy.
well, that wasn't deliberate. It was
Okay.
like, oh, it was better.
It was thinking about
We
weddings
just
down
got
there.
Yeah.
out of it. Like,
Wedding,
It was,
private events where you need a
Yeah,
tent, for
and-
sure, you're taking up the whole park and the public
right,
can't
and-
use it.
and part of it.
Anything that you have going on that stage, which is built on Sister Bay public
Yeah.
land, is designed to get public to the beach area, like that's the reason the
That's-
village
That's
bought
why
it.
there's conscious.
So,
Yep.
yeah, taking away bars from people having music performances, you know,
Mhm.
yes, have more concerts, that's awesome, get more people down there and use it, I think that's great, as long as when you lower it, you make sure that when people are filling out the application that want to rent it, that it is family-friendly bands and performances and things like that, and you're not getting like, I don't even know if there's wording in here, and I hate, you know,
There's language about language.
no rioting, no picketers, no
Yep.
staging, whatever you're gonna, you know,
We can review the language, because there was
to
a,
make sure that there's
there
no
can be
crazy
no
getting
techno,
out
there can
there.
be no light shows. There can
Yeah.
be there can be no flame, for sure, no flame.
so just in terms of some of
Only
the
in favor.
actions.
Mhm.
So the village rental agreement, we can perform a background check. We do request that there be adequate timing so we can review everything at least 4 months prior to the event. Ideally, that's
Mhm.
what it says. They have links to the video and have references for the different public locations that they previously performed.
So it has to be a performance-based thing, basically.
If they're using it for that purpose, yes.
So
I mean-
you wouldn't rent it, if somebody's like, hey, we wanna rent this stage and we wanna host a silent protest all day on Saturday on the stage, would you say yes?
I would really have to review the agreement to see if there's anything that wouldn't be allowable, and if I needed clarification, I'd bring it to the Parks Committee. That's my safe answer.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had protests here before, but typically they're on the corner of Mill and 42.
right,
Because if they protested
Well-
on the stage, no one would see them.
Yeah, it would not exceed any,
Nobody sees,
it would not exceed any decibel level.
and they can't scream too loud.
True.
okay, otherwise I'm in favor of the lower.
So just to confirm, we're talking $200 for nonprofits and then proposed 400
Door
County.
County.
in Door County, aligned with the policy for Door County-based nonprofits.
And I think we've got language in there somewhere else that says it actually has to be the nonprofit, not somebody doing it on their behalf.
Correct, yep, they would have to be essentially an agent of the nonprofit.
Okay, 200 for nonprofit, 400 for anyone else? I'm making that motion by Bell,
Well, second.
second by Heidemann. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay. The technology device and cloud services policy. So this is something that I worked on with Ben. If you look around here, you can see that there's a lot of folks that are using non-village devices. Even if they are using village devices as their secondary, I think that when we transitioned to not doing paper packets years ago, it was a big ask just to ask the commissioners and the village board members to say, okay, you need to go and use this digital. I don't think it's that much of an ask right now. I think that the average person is more than capable of opening up a PDF. We spend a good amount of money on those Surface tablets and they've lasted a while, but they're gonna need to be replaced soon. And even then, they don't last forever. I don't think that we have had to get new ones since then. I think we're budgeting $4,000 a year. So the question here, the idea here is, do we transition from providing trustees, commission members, the people that we are giving technology to instead of providing that, saying, okay, you go get your own technology, you operate it. If you do it this way, if you use the cloud-based services, you will not, it protects you from the Freedom of Information Request Act because the device is simply a portal, it's a window to what you're going to. So that's what this is, and it seemed relevant to bring it up here as we're sitting in the board.
I didn't understand the cloud part, but I like everything else.
Well, if you were to work on a document for the village on your computer,
Mhm,
and you didn't go through the browser, you didn't go to Outlook,
mhm.
you launched it on Word on there, there's an argument to say that somebody would be able to go in and say, okay, I want to see that document that you worked on your computer because it's a public document. But if you were to work on it through the browser, it's not really existing on your computer.
If you want to say if you're conducting village business on your desktop versus doing it, say, on the website,
Mhm.
like using Word online, everything would be within, the cloud versus having it be on your computer, and that way you can still utilize your device, just you're using it through the web-based services and not that. Otherwise, if you did everything on the Service Pro, kept everything on there in terms of a file, like that would still be searchable.
And did email it to your other email?
And it depends on your interactions, but
I'm not gonna implicate myself.
So what I'm trying to do is also, if we have a policy in place, we can say, no, this is what we do, we can point to that policy, say, no,
Yeah,
you wanna see what the online records are. You can go log in through Outlook and you can see everything that's accessed that way.
so do we basically log into Microsoft 365 and that gets us to where we need to be for everything in the, okay? All right, so we have a separate account, because I have a personal Microsoft 365 account, I just log into the village one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, on my, at the moment, my Mac, okay.
yeah.
What I do for mine is I log in through a separate web browser so that my one Microsoft account's on one web browser and my,
Oh, so
My
you
personal-
might use Chrome for one and.
Yeah.
And Safari for the other, okay.
and my understanding is that, and has Randy reviewed this yet?
Yes, but it would be recommended for having the legal review, but I did take a look at the Wisconsin City County Managers Association, and there are some similar policies, as part of it. But, it seems like the biggest thing right now, or the majority, are still utilizing a separate, device, but there are some that are utilizing something like this.
So how many tablets do we have out that are village owned?
So we have like 18, I believe. I know we just have the list pulled of what it was for the Surface tablets.
So that's committee members and trustees, right?
Yes, committee members and trustees.
But not
But
all
also,
committee members. I don't think we gave them to, it's certainly plan commission.
what about
Cause you already have
supervisors?
one, Skip, right?
Yeah, when I won last year, that's good.
I would think village staff would
And
still be.
supervisors?
on
Do supervisors have them, Nate, do we know?
I think
Eric,
that some of those are
Megan.
going to, some of those 18 are staff too, aren't they?
Yeah, staff,
Some of them are as well.
staff should be pulled out of this part of the discussion, because I'm trying to get an idea of, I'm just looking at cost.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, most of these devices are about 8 years old for the Surface tablets, and it probably was about $1,000 for each of these. In terms of what's been budgeted for the past few years for this category. It's been $4,000 for maintenance.
Rotating for a year roughly.
So it just would be, you know, when we're hitting that, these are approaching their useful life and it's not consistent between years in terms of what the expenditures are. So, you know, if we're talking all of those, the surface, if we're talking $1,000, you know, it's quite a bit of a investment over that specific.
And what's the
I agree.
ongoing cost for subscriptions for that many people on 360?
So for licenses, that is, I would say probably like,
20 some odd dollars, but that would not change, because we'd still have the license, it would just be where the license is being used.
but there is.
Correct,
Cost.
but if we've got more people using it, there's more cost involved there.
So the main,
Well, hold on, what are you saying, there'd be more people using it, how?
Cause each
So
one
right
of these
now-
has its own login.
Yeah, but right now, we've got village property that if somebody wanted to search it, here it is, it's the villages to have searched.
Mhm.
But if we're using our own hardware, when we're logging in, we have to have a license individually.
You would know, the license would not, the license is for you, it's not for the Surface Pro.
You could log into the
But
same.
that's my
Yeah.
point, is that, so there will be more licenses,
No,
the village, they currently have it.
so I have, the license I use is the license that's attached to my account. If I use it on the Surface Pro, I can use it here, I can just access my one account through there,
Mhm.
but I've never tried to do it at the same time, it's been a while since I've had a Surface, but. That, it's not gonna change the number of licenses. Cause each person is still gonna need one
Okay,
license,
then-
you're not gonna need two licenses for that.
Well, I was just saying whether there was additional license, because if you had a Surface, you weren't necessarily, or you're supposed to be going through the Village 360.
Well, I still go through the Village 365. I still go through the same login and same everything. If you wanna see my online footprint on there, it lives on Office 365 on the website. I've never downloaded an application. You know, with that in mind.
So let's say we do this. So next meeting, a couple meetings from now, I don't bring this, 'cause I don't have it anymore. Right?
Mhm.
Okay, so everything that's in my hard drive or the cloud or wherever it is that's there is now moved over and I can access it, not through a hard drive, I access it through the cloud,
Everything you have would be. on the
right,
cloud.
including my email.
Yes,
My email's in the cloud,
yes.
right? Okay,
yeah, so there's about 20, if I'm doing just some back of the napkin math here. There are some that are not operational. There's 31 total. And then, yeah, I'm just discounting some different staff ones, so, you know, there are there, and most of them are about 8 years old, and they're not, you know, they're approaching a useful life. And that was one thing when talking with George, is that, you know, even just setting up some of the new, Surface tablets, it's quite a bit of time and maintenance for the upkeep of them as they continue to age. So it is getting more difficult to do, and it also is something that if it is we're grandfathered in for any of the existing ones, they can still be utilized, just moving forward, just no more Surface Pros would be purchased, and then it just depends on if this is something that is a preferable policy, what is the specific stipend that should be there? Should it be annual, by term? Is it a one-time expense? You know, there's different things. This is just what is being proposed, but there are different things in the policy that could be variables that would be considered.
So Ben, I think you should talk about the process of bringing things up here 3 times. I mean, you know, I mentioned that earlier today, like. What your process has been here, so
Yeah,
this is the first time it's come here.
yeah. So I mean, ideally, when we're talking about policy development, is that when we're doing it, we're initiating the issue, right? We're framing it, we're having a discussion about why it's important and what are the different things associated with it. When we're talking about it, then there's some different ideas that are formed. We then can come back for another meeting and talk more of the workshop phase, where we're going to be modifying, having all those ideas, applying it in terms of a policy. And then we're gonna be finalizing it and having that review process. So, you know, in that way, when talking about policy, it might take a little bit longer, but we had, you know, 3 or 4 different touches on it that we can then say that we have a fully thought out policy. Everyone that had interest in it has put in their input, and that we got buy-in from everyone as part of the policy. So, you know, tonight's meeting is not necessarily to say that it would be adopted unless this is just a perfect policy and that's what we want to do. But this is just an introduction and that we can always, look at it next time, bring the ideas that are associated with it, and then continue to workshop it.
Yeah, so I would see us getting some input here and then,
Yeah, this is to get us thinking about it.
yeah,
A few months ago, George and I talked about the aging of these devices. And the idea was to shift away from Microsoft products and go like with Google Chrome, which is like super cheap, like about $300-400, and it's web-based. So technically, it's going to use Microsoft 365 by default because there's nothing else you can use beside that. You can also last up to like a number of years, like and minimum setup time, minimum maintenance, and things like that. It just, I mean, I respect and like the idea of stipend and things like that, but $600 every year, we're talking about at least like 4,200 plus, and it's just gonna add to the levy.
well, I wouldn't be hung up on that number. I think that number's gotta get worked out and see where that looks like, cause I would actually have said something like $600 per term. But I don't
Right,
know
why
if
would
that's,
we need $600 a year? I mean, if it's going towards actually buying the hardware, like you need to buy a new, like a new Mac or a new computer or something like that, what's the 600?
Yeah.
My other question was, is there gonna be, is George sticking around? Do we have IT support? How will that work?
if you do this, you're provided, you could get support for your email
Mhm.
and that's it.
Okay,
like
so you're
that's-
your IT support.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we bear additional cost
Mhm.
and I,
So that's what part of the.
I mean,
kind of
what's the difference between a stipend and a reimbursement?
I-
With a cap,
I think it's really a reimbursement with a cap, so you have to have an eligible expense. You can't just say, I want that money, because
and I think that makes sense.
I think there's some requirements on the back end there, so you can come on, you can say, I wanna buy a $10,000 computer, and you submit it and you say, great, there's your $10,000 computer, here's a $600 check. That's all that's matters for that.
So whatever's purchased, whether it's a Surface or in this case, the hardware, whatever, you submit it on an expense report, right?
You submit whatever your
Up to
Eligible
whatever
expenses.
The dollars are.
yeah, but then it's your responsibility. You've taken, for taking that money, you're then saying, okay, I will make sure that I have access to this, and if you wanna take that and you wanna print out. Get a printer and paper and print it all out for every packet, I suppose you could do that.
And then so everybody's a 2-year term, 3-year term, and then let's say someone leaves. So the hardware is still yours, laptops, the Mac's still yours, right?
Well, let's paint a picture, because this is something that Ben and I kind of thought about, is, okay, so. I get elected, I'm there for a month, I say, great, I want $600, I want this item, and then I'm like, yeah, you know what, I don't wanna do this, I'm gonna move on. You've gotta pay that back retroactive, like, you'd have to pay back that reimbursement. Proportionally.
So meaning that the expectation is that you would have it for your entire term,
Yeah,
right?
percent of term.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right,
and then just in terms of your device, if you get to keep your device.
Yep.
But just the license that'd be associated with the,
so you would no longer have access, the
yeah,
license for you.
if
is
you
terminated.
tried to log on
Okay.
on the day after your last day of your term,
Okay,
it'd be
it's terminated.
deactivated.
Okay,
And then anything that you would want, you could save to your local
Yeah.
hard drive and you're
Yeah.
no longer necessarily conducting village
Okay.
business.
right,
I'm okay
I'm
with
just,
it.
I get it.
I'm just gonna need more time before the meeting to bring my desktop in and set it down.
We'll see if we can get it from them.
Yeah. All
I
right,
still use a desktop, Skip, that's where.
Yeah.
I do,
We could
I
have a
don't have a
rollout
laptop.
cart,
It's,
well, you don't have a laptop, oh my gosh,
No.
I don't have a desktop.
I mean, like,
Well, it's not what you're used to,
to Vlad's point, I mean, like, you could go out there and you could spend a few $100 on a Google Chrome. It's not gonna last, but you could do it.
My husband's had one for years, he rarely uses it, but it's
I mean,
lasted a
if you-
really long time. Yeah,
And also technically before this policy is adopted, you have a Surface Pro that is grandfathered in as part of it.
Yeah, so nobody here.
well, I wasn't making it about me, I was joking. but
Yeah.
I don't have a laptop.
I don't mean to make an
I
example
can
out
help
of
you
it.
pick out a good desktop for you, Skip.
I shouldn't have said, I have one that's 15 years old, I just don't use
you
it.
don't have one then, If it's 15 years old, you really don't.
It's called vintage.
Yeah.
See what it's worth on eBay.
Well, it's got the
Vintage isn't good
interface.
For technology.
Retro.
So we've
Yeah.
kind of asked a few questions, probably ones you guys already thought of, so. And, yeah, Vlad has some expense concerns, understandably.
Well, we have to make sure that it's
Well,
gotta make sense for the village financially, otherwise it's kind of.
Processing a lot more checks.
Well, there is, but I mean, like, the ongoing support is also quite a bit.
Okay,
I mean, every time somebody comes in here, there's a new commission member, that's gonna be probably a couple hours billable to get it set up. And every time there's an issue, every time something breaks, you know, I've seen the surfaces come back to the office and they. Not quite so much lately, but there was over.
so brand new person starts, it's next year. Whomever, we might get a new trustee, and they have a laptop, and they say, here's your login, right? That's it.
Or if you say, "Hey, you know what, I don't want my Surface Pro anymore," then, you know, for this portion, I think at some point in the future.
Okay.
People aren't gonna have a choice, but right now I would see everybody to have that choice,
Okay.
they wanna do
Then
it.
they'll die.
Yeah, and then you might also extend, to a certain extent, you'll extend the Surface Pro's life, although at some point they're just gonna be useless.
Yeah.
And I think they're on the Surface Pro 12 now, and these are 3s.
And realistically, not every trustee or committee member is gonna use this $600. You know,
It would be, as part of this policy, it should be clearly defined which, committees, for example, would be associated with it.
Mhm.
Like, not every single committee necessarily needs to have that, and they're
Mhm.
probably just doing their own stuff on their own, and they probably don't have logins.
Right,
Uh,
they're probably
that-
just pulling the packet off the village website. and-
Correct, yep.
Yeah,
That they just have, I think a good thing is that they have village emails that are associated with it.
Mhm.
So,
yeah. Well, I think definitely saves money. I would be fine with it being $600 per term instead of annually.
Yeah, me too. I don't think it needs to be. I just don't know I think about what I'm spending on mine now, and it's,
You can get a brand new MacBook for $600 today, so.
yeah, but I mean, even, like, I'm just talking about, I know, I mean, I've never had an issue with my Mac, but beyond that, anything else I spend it on. You know, I mean, I pay for Office 365, okay. But otherwise,
So what happens if somebody get like second term, like re-elected at the same time, so then again?
Yeah, for every term.
however, I think we said that, it's not, you just don't spend the $600 and say, here's what I spent it on, and. You know, I would say you'd probably wanna have, classifications, or maybe not classifications, but what.
Eligible expenses?
Yeah, there we go, hello, eligible expenses would be good, yeah.
so for this one, it does have a few different things that would be associated with it depending on preferences, and it can be very broad, but again, it just depends on if there is anything that would be.
Oh, I see it, okay.
Yeah, he listed.
But if somebody already has one, then I suppose if you wanted to get a new one, you could, but that's a pain.
I don't think people get new computers just to get new computers.
Uh-uh.
I mean, the other part of this is.
Unless you need more memory. There's expense there, but.
No, the other thing that is equally important to me is to state this cloud policy.
Mhm.
That's the protection for.
Yeah,
the
Otherwise,
individual.
yeah, your device, if you're doing village-related business on your device, it would be something where it could be.
I don't think it could, but this clarifies it. This makes it much
Yeah,
much firmer.
Yeah.
it depends whether or not things are drafts or if you're conducting official business as defined by statute, which again, could be more difficult, but it just provides a level of protection if it's the standard and it's outlined in the policy that you're conducting it on the cloud-based service.
Okay.
So it's just everything would be there.
So. Should we get some legal opinions on some, bring it back, on some numbers?
Eligible expenses are smartphones? Like a
You
phone?
you could run your packet
No,
through a smartphone. I could get Skip set up so he'd have like an external display that plugs into his
Oh, my God.
I mean, we could make this
No,
complicated
Make
and.
anything complicated when it comes to this stuff, Nate, no.
So the direction here would be for getting.
Well,
legal-
picture, I kind of get that, but
The direction here would be getting legal opinion. And do we want to incorporate some of the prorated language and then the $600 per term and run some of the numbers about what that would look like?
Yeah, let's work with Glad on getting to see what that actually looks like and the comparison's gonna be. So if we. We know,
Was dealing with just the trustees or?
we'll figure that out. I mean, like, it's gonna be trustees and then also plan commission members and. Do we stop there? I think we probably, if you have a Microsoft account, that's probably where it stops.
There's no plan commission, they did not have. Like,
They
Yeah.
don't, but they probably should. Well, that's a whole nother,
you don't have a Microsoft?
well, now he
I'll
does.
do now.
But Plan Commission doesn't?
Yes, but
Only other question, I just read the cybersecurity thing. Does Microsoft 360 have its own cybersecurity, or would you be required to download like Norton 360?
that would be,
Or Norton antivirus, I'm like mixing.
that would be your,
Okay.
that would be up to
If there
you.
were no requirement, that's fine. If you required
Yeah, there's
Well,
a
Mike,
fee.
something.
That was one of my questions I had was what level of security would the village need to be protected by a device that was logging in that?
Microsoft's got pretty good endpoint protection.
Okay.
For if you, it's hard to compromise when you're logging through the website. because it's
So that's
browser.
included, 'cause
365.
they've never asked me to, they've never tried to sell me any of that, so that must be included, huh?
Yeah, if they're selling it to you, they're selling it to you on your service pro, not on the cloud.
Okay, yeah, never, all right. All right, so then we'll revisit
Sorry.
at the next meeting.
Yep, revisit with legal opinion and then just some of the items that were said to be something that would be the standard units.
Okay,
All right. Grants and project overview.
Yeah, so this is another, broad scope item that I just wanted to bring forward. So when talking about it, the village has utilized a few different funding opportunities within the past for various projects. And just when talking about grants, it's really important to have some type of plan in mind for future projects. And also just when we're talking about the board, making sure that there is support for moving forward with projects that are within the CIP. And that when talking about it, the intention would be to, identify, future funding opportunities for projects that are probably about a year out. So identifying that within the CIP and identifying it. And then, prior to, I should go back one moment. So as part of the CIP process, we should include some type of identification of different funding sources of when they're allowable and when
okay,
we should be looking at starting that process and creating some type of calendar as part of it of when to initiate and when it's going to be applied for. And then the other part of it is just when we're talking about the grants, just bringing it up, at a board meeting or as part of a committee meeting to make sure that everyone's still on the same page, that we're seeking to apply for those funding opportunities and that we get the support of the village board before moving forward on it. So overall, what I wanted to do is just provide just a general introduction of just going through not all of the CIP, but just outlining that I did put all the different projects that are associated with it along with the year. And then I wanted to put some different funding opportunities that are pretty prevalent within the state of Wisconsin. And so generally, when talking about it, there's a few different funding opportunities that really come to mind. The village does have eligibility for Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities Program, which could provide $1 million for a 2-to-1 local match for some different projects. One of the projects that comes to mind would be for the Triangle Street project that could be eligible for any other large street project. And then when talking about some of these different replacements for both the sanitary and for the water, we'd be looking at going for the Clean Water Fund and the Safe Drinking Water Fund through low interest loans and potentially principal forgiveness through the DNR. So those are some of the major programs that are associated with it. But if we have anything in terms of parks, we can use stewardship funds, or there's other recreation funds And then there's a whole bunch of things, if we do have any intention on moving forward with any of, you know, community or economic development projects as well. There are a few different, community and economic development grants that are available as well. So the intention is for the CIP for this upcoming year is to identify it as part of the CIP for some of the different funding sources. And then if there's anything that does come up as part of these, just that we'd initiated at the village board level prior to moving forward, just to make sure we're all on the same page.
So the CDBG. I know that we talked about that, because I think we're eligible again, because. I think we applied and didn't get it, so we can apply again now or something. We never.
So is my understanding is that this past, this sometime in this past year is that the village board did not decide to apply.
We never applied, okay.
But even if it's not awarded, it can be applied every year.
Okay,
But if an award is made, it is a 3-year cycle before another application can be made again. And what's unique right now with the village is that what's referred to as low to moderate income, which is through HUD. That's for a 5-year period, so it's from 2025 up until 2030.
mhm,
That if we applied for something in 27, we could then have another shot at it in 2030
okay,
to apply for it.
because right now it's like, they do it, around May, so it's too late for us this year, it'd be next year, right?
Yeah, so anything that really is gonna get funded needs to have engineering plans and specs
Yeah.
associated with it.
So this was the village hall last year that we had to push. for.
Yeah, all right,
So something that has happened over the years is every time since I've been on the board, we've applied for a grant, it's been, oh my gosh, there's this grant, we've got to get it done in 2 weeks.
it's quick, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and that's,
And I think what we're trying to do is lay this out so that we're preparing ourselves, so we're being more.
yeah, so I mean, there's two different ways to look at grants, is that one, there's a grant and you kind of put a project to fit it. Or you have projects and you try to plan for it and have grants that are available and it's there.
Mhm.
So I mean, ultimately, we're not trying to make up projects to keep things because there's a grant available. It's that we know we have existing needs, there's funding sources that are available, there are things that need to be done prior to applying for it. And that it's being planned appropriately that those things, you know, would happen prior to applying for the grant.
Mhm.
If we wanted to apply CDBG to the village admin, is that an option, and what would the timeline for that entail?
Yeah, so as part of it, it can't specifically be only for a staff portion, it would have to be some also
Community center or something.
community center aspect as part of it. So it could be funded if that is the case, if it did have, you know, like the trustee chambers were rentable or just generally open to the public. So that would be available, but it's with that caveat. And then we'd have to have the engineering done prior to, the May
May of next year.
2027, yeah.
Okay.
And same thing for the streets, but the only thing is that you have to wait then probably until 2028 to do any construction.
Oh, for the
'Cause it-
triangle?
Yeah, so that would push it back as part of it, but it just depends which projects are there. That would be good fits for it, because when we're talking about it, it needs to be, you know, planned out.
Okay. And, sorry, go ahead.
I think it's also critical to pay attention to the other stipulations and requirements within the grants. That we don't end up jumping through other hoops that we don't have any intention of, just to chase it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the one comment that I had written down was that, to me, the bottom line is that you gotta have, like you already said, a project planned, and then if there's funding available,
Mhm.
that works, that's great.
Yeah.
But
Don't force it.
modifying what you're gonna do just to chase money
Mhm.
doesn't serve the community well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Free money is never free.
So we'll start looking at SIP/budget and all that stuff in July.
Yep, so there are some different things such as the community investment fund, obviously through the Destination Door County, that would also be available. So there are some local grants. There's also some things such as the T-Mobile grant for different park projects. So there's some smaller ones that are good to put our hat in the ring for. But when we're talking about larger funding projects, you know, these are some of the ones that we're.
This is larger, like T-Mobile isn't in here, because I went from.
T-Mobile, this one, yeah, this one's just Wisconsin state grants, but the T-Mobile is for like placemaking grants. It'd be more like parks or public spaces,
Okay,
and it's up to $50,000.
okay,
And then, you know, potentially doing assistance with the fire department for assistance to firefighters grants. Some things are
good.
more long shots, but it's still good to apply each year.
okay.
Well, we need to keep an eye, like, if we're looking at CDBG, we should be finalizing decisions by December-ish, January-ish, to make sure we get engineering and everything else done.
Yes, I mean, it just depends if we're identifying a project. It's, you know, when we're talking about it as part of the CIP, it would be identifying that as a project that we're pursuing, making sure we're on track for engineering, knowing that we're not gonna complete the project until 28. And if there's any other things that are associated with it. And then we work with our engineers for any of the environmental improvement fund portions to make sure we have meet all the requirements that they need. You know, for example, when we're talking about the large wastewater treatment plant improvements, you know, that's already on the pipeline of when, you know, they're working on it. We would take all the necessary steps that would be associated with those programs to make sure we're eligible. So.
Okay, this is great. I think it's smart to align it with the.
Yeah, and the nice part about actually having the CIP that is in spreadsheet format for right now is that we can modify it to include portions on the bottom about funding as well. So we can include notes about what we're looking at. And then just it'd be good to incorporate it as a, you know, annual calendar of the reminder of where to bring it up. And when we should be looking at, you know, 3 months before looking at starting to work on the application.
So who becomes the gatekeeper on this?
So I mean, ultimately, it would more than likely be my responsibility, but I think it would be something, whether or not it's at the village board or if it's at the specific committee level,
For
just to
finance.
bring it up.
Well,
Yeah,
and the reason I ask is that, you know, certainly the water treatment, that's its own
Mhm.
zone, basically.
It could be utilities.
But somebody's gotta be knowing what's out there, and it's not probably
Yeah,
that
so if
committee
it's,
that's gonna have the experience to know where to go looking for funding and timing, so
Yeah.
that's why somebody's gotta be the central depository.
so would it be, so I'm just thinking of the wastewater treatment plant, would it be Megan, because that's her wheelhouse, she's a supervisor, is that something that she would be tasked with? I'm not suggesting that she would be, but I'm wondering if, I mean, I'm not saying that we make a decision today, but, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so
Or
I
if
mean,
it's something parks related, is that
I'm-
something? that
See,
you're
I'm questioning the value of the committee level being responsible.
I think it's more so being informed just about it and making sure that there is stakeholder engagement before we move forward. Because we can just, you know, some of these things require a resolution, you know, which automatically means buy-in, but some of them don't, right? Where we could just be utilizing staff resources and just applying for things that we can, but it would be smart to make sure that we initiate it properly and say, is this something that we want to move forward with?
Mhm.
Identify, you know, the pros and cons or the likelihood, and then say we're dedicating staff resources to applying for this, right?
And that's, I guess, why I'm asking. It sounds like, yes, you or your staff are the gatekeepers, that it should be coming through the board.
Yes, I mean, ultimately it'd be initiated, yeah, from staff. We know that the opportunities are out there. Many of them are pretty common.
Yeah.
You know, the village has utilized that in the past for other projects, like for example, for the wastewater treatment plant, they had USDA funds that were applied for it. And each year there's funds that are put in for the replacement fund for that. You know, it's also that it's been utilized clean water fund and there's environmental, so like it's very recurring things. It's just making sure that we take the necessary steps.
And stay on top of it and make aware.
So
be aware.
as the board is making a plan of what's gonna happen in the years ahead, then it's really gonna
Mhm.
fall back to you to make sure that
Yep,
any funding that aligns with it is brought to us.
yep, exactly. But
This
yeah,
is the first time I've seen something like this in a packet ever,
Okay.
so this is. Um, I'm optimistic on this and I'm glad to have it because it can be frustrating to scramble to get. Special
I
meetings
mean,
to
sometimes
have.
they pop up at the last minute,
Yeah,
but
they-
typically they're out there and
Yeah.
It's more common that it's the recurring, but then there's,
Yeah.
yeah, there's certain types that are just random funding that comes through and
Yeah,
again, it needs to be, even if it is come through, a decision will need to be made, is this the smart decision to move forward for
Uh-huh.
a project that fits this and not just trying to make the project fit the funding?
mhm.
And then there's encumbrances that come up with some
Right.
of this, and there's long-term impact, and it's,
Mhm.
For example, for CDBG, you can't change the use for 5 years after it's constructed. So I imagine that, whether or not it's a street or an ambit building, that it's gonna be that purpose, but if it's ever a consideration that it's not, it needs 5 years to be that.
Okay.
There's random things that are associated with it.
okay,
Okay, great.
on to the monthly financial report. So I'll start by making a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $1,935,365.35. Motion by Bell,
Second,
second by Housing, now discussion. Any questions on this? And it is for the new board members. Vlad doesn't have all the answers, he'll do his best, but it's far better to ask ahead of time. You're more likely to get a better answer and,
I mean, all of that, they go through me on the final reviewer, but sometimes details as either Eric or Megan, they.
yeah. But the other thing is if you ask Vlad a question tonight, he'll generally get you an answer tomorrow, if at
Yeah,
all
right
possible,
away.
but it's. Just wanna set expectations for a lot of new folks that haven't been part of this.
I already asked my questions before the meeting, so we're all good.
Of course you can skip.
I just had one, and it's on page 80, Vlad. It's Trojan Technologies, it's lamps for the UV system, I don't know what they are, it just popped up because it's 5 figures, so if it's 5,
For utilities.
for where?
Utilities,
Oh, okay,
It's part of the water treatment. we
Got
pay
it.
for that.
okay,
Kills the little buggers.
oh, nice to know,
Don't wanna go septic.
sorry,
Don't wanna go septic.
no, probably not. Probably not.
Are you looking for a second, Nate, or did you go?
I've got a second, now we're just, now I get that out there, then
Now we're
let the discussion, and then,
Oh, you got your, okay, sorry,
yeah,
I didn't know that,
yeah, you second.
yeah.
Okay.
I thought I did. Okay, one other one, Midwest Meter Orion Cellular
page?
Remote, 8400, page 78.
invest meter is utilities too.
Utilities people. Okay, that's it for me, no other questions.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, motion carried. On to staff reports, so we've been, just fielding questions on these, we haven't gone over them, assuming everybody read them.
I was looking for the other ones that weren't linked. Supposed to be 9 of them. I only found 4.
Sometimes they don't meet, but
So not everything in terms of depends which minutes are available following the meeting as part of it. Yeah, answering any questions.
Yes, to the utilities meeting, I think we actually had
Oh, that was, forget it.
that was one that was there that we had already talked about that at March.
Yeah, just with elections and whatnot, I think it was kind of trying to catch up on a lot of the minutes, so.
Okay. But that's actually, we jumped over staff reports.
Yeah, so just the only thing that I really wanted to cover is just as part of it, so I am currently working on just a new elected official handbook, just essentially outlining some of the major things for Wisconsin state statute. As part of it, and it just is a good resource guide in terms of some of the different things for the village, so I'm hoping to finalize that. And then also for getting any of the emails, I worked with IT today to make sure that we are getting the email addresses all standard, and that we're getting that issued, so I'll just be reaching out shortly to make sure that that's all good. And then once I'm finalized with the elected official, new elected official handbook, would love to have set up a time to meet with you guys, just to have a one-on-one as well.
Okay. So then we'll go to committee reports, which I think we've already covered. Any other questions on the committee reports? Okay, matter to be placed on a future agenda referred to committee. Do we have anything here? Don't think we've come with anything to the meeting.
So this comes out of,
Well, the laptop,
Yeah,
this comes out of, watching the video from the finance committee meeting, when you had the discussions on TIF funding and that.
Yeah.
And you're talking about setting up a time to get a TIF 101 class.
Mhm.
I think the board should be included in that.
yeah, I mean, like, if it's open to the public, we would be remiss not trying to go to it, but yes, make sure we're.
Well, it sounded like this was something that you, as finance committee, were trying to get your hands on and do. But
yeah,
I'm saying, I think we should benefit from.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you're right, I got the impression it was for finance members, but should be board too.
Yeah.
So would you, that's gonna be at a standard, a regular finance meeting, I presume?
Yes, I mean, that could be handled a few different ways, is that it can either be scheduled twice. And we could potentially have Baird come to both times, or it could be one meeting and then it would be for. Either it's at the village board and we invite the rest of the finance members, and the third option. Or it'd be vice versa, right, where it'd be at the finance committee meeting and then any board members would be welcome to join.
I think we should do it at finance, because I don't think that. I'd like to keep our meetings under 2 hours, but I think after 3 hours, we're really not productive. And I could see that being a challenge.
I almost saw this as a set aside.
Yeah, maybe it's a dedicated, but have it be a dedicated finance meeting and then have it, but we have to jointly notice it as a
Yeah.
board meeting.
I mean, if it's gonna be an hour, I don't know how long the expectation would be that it would take, I don't know, but,
Typically, it's about a half hour
Okay.
thing, but if there's a lot of questions,
uh-huh,
you know,
Okay.
it could probably be a full hour.
okay. And I wonder, well, maybe we wouldn't cover it, but it's an ideal time if we could, to cover the new, TIF legislation that came out of, if it's all worked out by then, that came out of Madison.
Yeah, so I mean, we know what the legislation is, it just depends on how it's implemented.
And there's strings and stuff, right? Not strings, but what the requirements are.
Yeah, so I mean, it can definitely, they can also provide an
Entity.
overview of it,
Is
but
that what
they
they were talking about?
have said that, you know, they're not gonna know
Wow.
specifically until, you know, the DOR issues what the handbook is
Okay.
for it.
But then it's a separate thing, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then let's get that, let's notice it as a board meeting and get notifications out. I don't think you can schedule it to try and make sure everybody can get to it.
Yeah, so there is a meeting in May, and it was the intention for having them be, once everything's finalized for the finance committee. For the composition, that's when it'd be scheduled for. So.
Okay. We've got that, then on to,
I had another question. This is not for like immediate or anything, but we've talked a lot over the last year or so about reviewing code, our code. Village code. I don't know what that process is. I think it's long and cumbersome and.
you're
stuff.
saying like section 25 code or?
Any,
like-
whatever, just a discussion about it. We talk a lot about the code and interpreting the code and the code and the code.
Well, I mean,
So I don't know if there's a discussion to be had as a group on what is there work that needs to be done? And if there is, how it should be done. And again, this is not like, let's do it next month, but what kind of process would be required?
so all non-planning code is really what would be the village board would be directly touching.
Or then it's not the board, then it's plan commission.
Are you saying zoning code, or are you
Uh-huh.
saying other code?
So,
Okay. So I think that was referred at the last meeting.
Yeah, so I mean, there,
so that
whenever
was
the next plan
referred,
commission, regular plan commission meeting is, there'll be discussion
so
about.
that was referred to plan.
That was at plan referred to
Plan.
another,
The next.
plan referred to
Referred
the
to
next
the
plan,
plan.
yeah,
Referred to
future
the
meeting.
next plan, got it,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
yeah.
Does
so
that
what-
include, I should probably know this, but does that also include the signage,
Yes.
the code
Yes.
for signage? That's included in the zoning code?
So what the discussion point is gonna be is. What does rewriting the code look like? What is the expense on that? What's the option to do it? We've done it ourselves multiple times, and I think we're still dealing with organically grown code, so I wanna see what the expense is to have somebody else do it, but also, what is the commitment that the plan commission is gonna have, because you don't just have somebody come in here and tell you, this is your code. Even if you have an outside source write the code, you still need to have the code.
It's gotta
Be
be
what
your,
Bill's
it's gotta
on,
be your
yeah.
code.
Yeah, so it's gonna be intensive plan commission meetings for a period of time, so the first step is to figuring out what that looks like.
Okay.
What's that cost gonna be, cause it's probably gonna be a substantial cost.
Okay. I just
So-
didn't want to, I just want to make sure it was, so it's planned and it's, okay, beautiful.
Okay, so then the next thing is the next meeting. For those of you who've been on the board for a while, sometimes we have dragged out appointments a while. And I want to get this buttoned up quicker this year. So I would like to have a special board meeting to do appointments. We've also got a number of new board members, so I would like to get new board members up to speed on everything that's going on in closed session. We have another closed session item to cover. I'm gonna have Randy Nesbitt come here in person to do this, and hopefully we can get that scheduled next Monday. I prefer to do it earlier in the day, if people can make it, if ever we can get a quorum. Steve was not able to make it tonight, but I asked him what his availability was, and he said he was available anytime on Monday. So what does next Monday look like for all of you, and when is the preferred time? I would,
Yeah. I mean, I can always reschedule it for Robert E. Lee as well.
Monday night is tough.
Monday during the day.
Okay, I was like, please don't do it. I have 5 kids and sports.
Otherwise, like a 10 or 11.
11,
11,
it's 11, okay.
Patrice?
I think she usually works before.
I think you're mute.
Hello, yep, I got it. I work on Mondays until 2.
Can we do it later in the day? I mean, when could you get to it from after 2 o'clock?
I could come right after work, like 2:30.
Could we do 2:30?
I'm flexible.
It's fine for me.
There is a CPR class scheduled, I think we start setting up at 5. Is that gonna be an issue?
We will be done by 5 o'clock. Yeah, they start setting up at 5, or they have their,
Just, did you want to cover anything in terms of the plan commission meeting? If we don't have a quorum.
we're not gonna have. a
Okay.
quorum.
Okay.
So
No
that's,
plan meeting.
yeah, there's not a plan, or, I mean, I guess we could, what are you saying, we could do it Tuesday?
Just didn't know in terms of depending on who is all present for it in terms of reaching out. It's fine pushing it off a little bit, just in terms of keeping things going. It, shouldn't be more than a week.
Well, so plan commission won't have a quorum next week because you're not on plan commission right now. As funny as that sounds, and we will have to redo appointments before we'll have a quorum, because Patrice and Laurel are gone next week, so there won't be quorum, so we'll have to make that appointment, then we'll get it scheduled promptly after that, then.
Okay.
Thinking the Thursday after that, but I
Okay.
want
That
to get
sounds
the
good.
appointments done first, so. So we want to say 2:30 on Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the next board meeting is the 19th.
Yes, and then we also have Board of Review.
Did you say something about closed?
Yes, they will be closed on Monday.
The Monday's closed, okay.
Sunday 19th, next.
Will you send out the list of committees and stuff before that Monday meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with anybody I can, about that, just figuring out where to fit people on committees.
Okay.
Well, the board review is, I have that scheduled already,
On
right?
the 27th. I just wanted to also mention, because I don't know that Skip and Terry are aware, the board review is, I believe that's 6 o'clock on May 27th.
Oh, man.
No. Oh, yeah, 6 to 8,
6 o'clock.
and you gotta stay the whole time. Even if we don't have anybody attend.
Wait, this board meeting we're talking about, the special one is this coming Monday.
Correct.
Yeah,
April
just
27th.
Yep.
to the future for, when we're talking about May.
And then the May 19th meeting is the May meeting. And then after that is the board of review. So I can attend board of review.
And do we have the training material, you know, Sarah?
It's the 27th, it'll be in Village Hall.
There's a board of review training material, I don't know if you,
So our assessor.
That'd be mostly virtually.
I think, yeah.
And what is it? Well,
It's okay.
for present time.
To listen to.
Let's, well, maybe we can get that.
We're presented with, if anybody
Sure.
should and wants to talk about
Okay,
their taxes.
okay, I think,
And then we take a look at it.
Louise?
It's a nice comment, sorry. Oh, geez, Amy.
A motion to adjourn would be in order.
Um,
I motion to adjourn.
Motion by White,
nay, just kidding. Second.
second by Allison. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
So basically, the last time we.
But I've been available